confirmation of that. Make sure audio and everything's coming through to you guys out there. I want to do what I usually do and ask everyone, encourage, beg, plead with you all to go to hankstrange.com, sign up for our email list, look around the site. Lola's always sharing deals there on the website, as well as if you want to support us by buying some patches, check this out. Boom. You can get some Hank Strange patches, if I can hold them up properly for anyone looking here. So there you go. This is the blaster patch. That's the logo patch. You can get that on hankstrange.com. For anyone who's buying those things, while we have supplies, we've got these gunvolt stickers that we're throwing in there at no extra cost to you. They didn't cost us anything either, but we got these from the NSSF guys, gunvolt. So that way we can all remember that definitely this year we need to make that gun vote. Big shout out to Franklin Armory. I want to thank them for sponsoring the podcast here. They're very supportive of us, and we appreciate that. You know, those are the guys that make those binary triggers. We can talk about that and whatever else you want to. I think we're going to get into the show here. Let me hit the open.
Welcome back to the Hank Strange Situation.
Boom!
Lifestyle.
Make sure you guys subscribe, thumbs up, ring the bell so you can be notified. Okay, we've got David from Down the Barrel. He's never been on before. David, we do this warm-up thing called jazz hands. And there's a deliberate reason I didn't tell you about that in the beginning. Everyone has to do jazz hands. Come on. Rolando, I don't see your jazz hands, man. Come on, get
I got him.
Oh, let me see. Hold on a second. There you go. I hope you got your big girl panties on, because we are live, and this is episode 641 of the Who Moved My Freedom podcast. I'm your host, Hank Strange, and as I said, we have joining us live, we've got David from Down the Barrel. David, what's up? Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for coming on here. We're going to get into David and Down the Barrel. If you guys don't know, David, you build guns for, let me see, Black Rambo, right? Killer Mike, the rapper, okay, and some other folks out there.
Yeah, a lot of other folks, yep.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to get into that and much more.
Awesome.
Also joining us, Rolando, Puerto Rican, Pistolero, he who goes to K-pop
to support his wife.
Yeah, K-pop concerts. We've got Rolando joining us. What's up, man?
Hey, everything's good. Good to see you. Happy to be here and join you guys tonight.
Awesome.
Follow up after Latina Locked and Loaded.
Yeah. Last night was that was a fun show. Okay, so shout out to all the folks out there. As you guys are coming in, please smash those thumbs ups. We appreciate that. We're going to get into this with David. David, let's start here, right? How about explaining to the folks who you are, what's your business that you do? We can probably start there. Maybe a little bit of a background on who you are, where you're located, etc.
Okay, David Boy Bones. I own Down the Barrel LLC. We custom build rifles. We recently got up with Black Rambo to build the Black Rambo line of pressure rifles, and we're coming out with a couple more deals with Black Rambo. Like I tell everybody, I'm one of those guys who says you can do it no matter what. I was raised up dirt poor. I came from dirt poor, joined the military for a while, and then got into guns, and here I am. You know, okay. I'm in North Dakota, originally from North Carolina, the backwoods of North Carolina, and now I live in North Dakota, and we sell online at downthebarrelofficial.com.
Awesome. Thank you. Let me see. I don't know if Rolando, if you have any questions right off the is it right off the bat?
Yes.
Or is it right off the back? Yeah.
Are your rifles your custom ones on your website or on your Instagram? I wanted to check them out. Or do you have where do you have them at?
The Black Rambos are on the website.
Okay.
My custom ones, we don't have them on the website because we want to make room for the Black Rambos.
Okay.
Custom ones you can call. And if you don't get me, leave a message because I'm always busy. But with the custom ones, we do according to you. So we get together and we actually build it according to the way you want it.
Okay, cool. What's the website? Just downthebarrel.com?
Downthebarrelofficial.com.
Oh, Down the Barrel Official. Okay, hold on. Yeah, because everyone uses it. There's Down the Barrel is very popular on the internet.
So here, I'll share that. I'll screen share that for the folks out there so you guys could see it. And you could go check this out while we're here talking Down the Barrel Official. So do you guys do handguns and rifles?
We drop ship handguns, but right now we only custom build rifles. We only custom build AR pistols
Oh, okay.
and rifles.
Okay. So, all right, cool. And I'm just taking a look here. What's the base? What's the ground up of the, or the? I guess the way what I'm looking for here is to say, where do you start with the rifles? Is that from a particular company? Is it your lower? What's going
It's
on
my
there?
lower. We start
Okay.
with my lower, my handguard. We have DTB handguards. We have a custom upper that's built for us, and we have our lowers. And
Mm-hmm.
pretty much we start with our lower, and we can cut your handguard out any way you want. So, like if you want Hank Strange cut in it, we can
Okay.
cut Hank Strange in it. So
Okay.
the handguards are built according to the way you want them, and then we Cerakote them.
Mm-hmm.
Custom barrels, and I mean the whole nine from there is custom any color you want, any way you want. It takes some time to get through it, but it's pretty much every way you want. It's worth it in the end.
Okay, cool. For anyone that's watching us here, you could just look in the background here of David, and you'll see some of his custom stuff. Of course, for the YouTube overseers, he's not touching anything. Those are in the background. Don't get out of hand. Shout out to everyone who's coming in. Let us know if you guys have questions and things like that. We'll try to get to as many of your questions as we possibly can here. I see Gun Doctor TV is out there. Shout out to him. Razor JB, Dan Hates You is also there. He says, "What is this? Sorry I'm late, but you'll have to start over." No. You're just going to have to go for the ride right now. Eric Gonzalez says he's grilling and watching Lot Lao on Constitution
Awesome.
Day, America. Is it Constitution Day?
It is.
Oh, see, I didn't even know that. I'm
It is
slipping.
today.
What?
Mhm.
Okay, at least I got the little mini Constitution here.
Yep.
Yeah. What are we supposed to do on Constitution Day? Anyone knows?
Read
Re-
the Constitution.
yeah,
Read- I guess read,
recite
yeah.
the preamble from memory and
Oh,
the first.
from memory? Uh-oh.
Yeah, and the Bill of Rights.
Oh. Can any one of you do that? Either one of you guys, can you
I can
you
do the
recite-
preamble, but I can't do the entire Bill of Rights like verbatim.
Okay, you want to do some preamble for us?
We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America.
Oh, nicely done.
Yes,
Impressive.
Yeah.
that
nicely
one
done.
I've got, and then I can
Yeah.
do a few
How
amendments.
long, how long have you had that? How long? Have you...
In 8th grade, they made us recite it in class, and you had to like come up with like a creative way to memorize it. I don't remember exactly what I did. I think I split it almost like a haiku in like different verses, and then that ever since then I've always had it in my head.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
Wow, me, I'm just like we the people. Boom.
Yeah, got that one down. Gun Doctor TV says, yes, it is, and I was born on this awesome day. Happy birthday to you, sir.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday to you. And Razor JB says, Carolina boy. That's what, is that what you said? Your family's from Carolina? David?
Yeah, North Carolina.
North
Yep.
Carolina, okay. And then you're out in South Dakota now.
North Dakota.
North Dakota, okay, North Dakota. See, got to pay attention. How is it? What is it? I'm guessing it's a massive difference, man. North Dakota.
Yes, it is. North Dakota, I'm about 20 miles from the Canadian border, and with the wind chill, sometimes it gets about 60 below zero here.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Yeah, it gets pretty cold here. And then North Carolina is like humid. Where I'm from, it's like Piedmont area, right outside Fayetteville, so it's like humid. So to go from there to here was a drastic change. And now when I go back, everybody's like, oh my God, I'm cold, and my kids and I are out there with like t-shirts on.
Oh, okay.
Adaptability is crazy.
Yeah, I see that kind of. I could see a little bit of that in the background. If you look here at your backdrop, I could see some stone, and it looks like a. I don't know if it's a log cabin type of a deal, but it looks nice.
Yeah, it is. Thank you.
Yeah, you know. personally.
How many years have you been out there?
Yeah, good question.
Do what now?
How many years have you been out there?
I've been out here 12 years, a little
Oh,
over
okay.
12 years.
Okay.
Yeah, so we moved up here right when the economy kind of went down. I think it was like 08, 09.
Mhm.
And my dad's from Belcourt. He's from the Turtle Mountain Reservation here. So he's like, come up here, man, because that's when the oil boom was going up and the house was going down. So I came out here to actually work on trucks as, because there was money here. And there's always been money here, and there'll probably continue to be money here as long as there's oil riggers and oil wells.
Yeah.
And I ended up staying. I was going to come out here for a couple of years, and it's just peaceful here. It wasn't like back home. It's peaceful. I mean, when I got here, I saw like little kids riding their bikes around the town, and I was like, unbelievable. Like,
It's old school.
why these kids, yeah.
Yeah.
And then we just ended up staying. It was a great place to live.
Okay, very cool. So I'm guessing there's just not a lot of people then, right? Or what's your take on that?
Here, there is a lot of people here, because like we're right next door to Minnesota, right down from Canada. It's kind of like little towns separated. You got a couple big cities, but most of the little towns with 2,000 to 3,000 people populations. So it's small compared, Fayetteville and places like that. But it's okay. I like it. I like that it's.
Yeah, that's it's like you said. I think peaceful. So a couple of things that's pop into my mind, Orlando. I don't know if there's anything in your mind. One, so you've got Native American Indian ancestry, I take it?
Yes, my dad's from the Turtle Mountain band of Chippewa Indians, Nisha, man, and then like First Nations, and my mom is like Cherokee blended, so she's like you got dark skin, light skin, you got all that. So she's actually Hatchet there, and so it's kind of I'm a blend of everything. French. My grandfather was Irish. My grandmother was like a slave or something. It was just a blend. So I can't get mad at nobody.
Oh, you could always find someone to get mad at. Trust me, If you want to, I think a lot of that comes down to your personality and how you see those things.
Definitely.
And I'm a firm believer, and I just walk away from anybody that's negative. Like we'll be mid conversation and you start talking bull jive, I'll just walk away. I ain't for that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Let's see. And then the other thing that came to mind is that you said you did some military service, right?
Okay. I was in the U.S. Army 11th ACR. I got out after about 3 years, a little over 3 years, and I came to North Dakota and I joined the Guard for a couple of years, and then I got out. I was kind of done with it after that.
Okay. So is that where the where your attractions to guns started, or you were just always into guns?
Well, being in the South, you're always into guns.
Yep.
So being in the military introduced me to a new level of firearms. So it's because in the South you got your rifle and your shotgun and your base, and you see something extravagant, you're like, oh man, that's cool. And then being in the military, it just introduced you to the AR-15, M60, 249, and then coming out of there, that's really got me into the love of firearms was the AR-15 coming out of the M4 carbine or whatever you want to call it. And so I just fell in love from there, man, and that was it. I always knew I was going to be a firearms manufacturer.
Oh, okay. So. Oh, really? So did you do something directly firearms related in the military, or you did something else?
Well, I started out as a tank maintainer. I was the guy that split the packs and worked on the tanks and turbine engines. And then so they sent me to Fort Bragg for a minute, and then I left there and I went to Fort Irwin, which is NTC, National Training Center. And they fix tanks there, but civilians do it. So I was pretty much the guy that went out to the field and played the bad guy and played the games and stuff that did the training procedures and the hand-to-hand combat and all that stuff. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So that was me.
Okay.
That's how my whole military career.
Okay.
Just running through the deserts of California.
Right. Okay. So and you've got some skills at fixing tanks.
Yeah, turbine engine, tanks, track machinery, the whole nine, and then most of my skills come from we actually learned how to did training on how to take care of situations and
Mm-hmm.
things of that nature. So that was where my whole career was right in there. And it was amazing. I loved it. I loved going to the field.
Yeah.
Right.
One of the guys who's always here on the show, Walter from Safety Harbor Firearms, he was never in the military, but he's a big military vehicle guy, and that's his favorite thing, man, tanks. So,
Oh man,
yeah.
I hate working on them.
Really?
I hate it, man. Because like you'd be out in the field working on those deals at like 2:30 in the morning, and in the desert it gets really really cold, and you got JP8 everywhere, and it's all over you, and it's just
What's JP8?
Fuel.
It's fuel. It's like a blend of fuel, like diesel type fuel, and it's like sometimes it comes off the hoses and it's all over you, and I mean you can actually pull a tank engine out in a matter of minutes.
Right.
You know, and it's supposed to be clean, but
like you said, I think it's a power pack, right? And you can just
power pack. You just pull it out, just unhook a bunch of stuff and pop it out with a herc. And I just I didn't hate it. I just didn't like it as much as I did running through the desert and playing war games. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's always more fun. That's like you were doing in real life, I guess, what people do on video games a lot.
Yeah, I was the loud Call of Duty guy, I guess.
Yeah,
what you call it.
Yeah. Did you ever get out into combat overseas? Okay.
No, I volunteered for it 3 times, and every time I got pushed back. They said they'd rather have trainer. You know, you would be better to train 10,000 than it is to, possibly lose 1 or something like that. So I had a lot of training to do it. So.
Okay.
It was good. I liked it.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Absolutely. Dan Hates You says that jet fuel, it's thin diesel.
Well, it's like a blend of diesel and like I don't know. I don't exactly know the blend, but I know it's blended, and I know it's like horrible when it gets on your skin. It's just thinned out.
Yeah. Did you have any questions, Rolando?
Yeah. How did you transition from pretty much servicing vehicles and things like that to actually manufacturing a firearm? So like the point that you're doing your own lowers and all that stuff and go through that process.
So I got out the military and I got into diesel mechanics because that's what I knew, and it just got old. It really old. And it wasn't that it was a bad gig or bad job or anything. It just got old. And honestly, truthfully, I Googled it. I Googled like high paying careers. And you got pharmaceuticals, and then you have firearms was like in the top 5.
Right.
Like, hey, I can do that. I can build firearms. And it took a minute. It took like a year and a half to get everything together and get with the right people and things of that nature. And not knowing anything about business. That was the big thing. I didn't know nothing about business. And so that was kind of a downfall, but I learned from it. And it kind of brought me to where I'm at today. And I always wanted to get into firearms. I just didn't know how. So I honestly Googled it. That's the honest truth.
So
that's
you didn't.
Awesome.
Yeah, I know, that's cool. I mean, you know what? I always tell people that, right? Because there's always these people doing what we do. You run into people and they're like, oh man, someone should tell people about this. And I'm like, there's this little thing in your pocket that the Egyptians invented called phone. And you could just Google machine anything. Right?
Yeah, it wasn't no magical deal. Like one day I thought, deal. I honestly was just tired of living. I wanted to be my own businessman, and I knew about firearms, and I was like, you know what, this is the way I'm gonna go. And honestly, I sat and I said a prayer, and I had $136, and that's what I bought my license with. That's what I bought my name with. I trademarked my name, and I made payments to trademark my name, and then I went from there. Started with a prayer and $36.
Awesome. Yeah. That's listen, that's proof that anyone could pick themselves up by their own bootstraps. Success is not guaranteed, but failure is if you quit.
Yeah, if you quit, you've already failed. But if you keep going and just keep striving and pushing towards a goal, and I like when I got into it, I lost on my first gun deal. Then I lost on my second gun deal. I'm like, what the hell am I doing wrong? And I started like Googling people, business people,
Mm-hmm.
and I started looking into how they operated business. And most business people are in real estate.
Mm-hmm.
So I just applied that to, the gun side, and then I applied the things that I was taught
Mm-hmm.
as a youth, what
Mm-hmm.
not to do. Because we weren't really taught about money, so I just applied what not to do, and I
Mm-hmm.
just combined them together and created
Mm-hmm.
a little platform for myself, and here I am.
Yeah,
Very
that's
cool.
yeah, that is cool. And one of the crazy things about America, and I guess a lot of places, that in all the way up to high school, they don't really teach you about money. I don't know if they've made any
Mhm.
changes
No, they
recently. I
don't.
don't think so. Yeah, no one teaches you about money. And then for a lot of us, especially depending on where you come from, right? Or your background, your parents don't know, so they can't teach you.
Hmm.
No,
Yeah.
my parents were poor. My dad, my mom and my dad were separated. So I
Mm-hmm.
was in that separated home. And then,
Mm-hmm.
it was my mom, um, growing up when I was 11, like she went mentally ill because she
Mm-hmm.
was going to school, she was working, she was raising kids. So she had a nervous breakdown.
Yeah, too
So I kind of
much.
missed her.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, so she had like an abusive boyfriend, and he just beat my ass, and, things like that. And
Mm-hmm.
uh, I just took all that and I learned from it.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I really learned from it. Like I said on John's podcast, if you've been through it, I've probably seen it.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen a lot of stuff in my life, and I just learned from it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I don't know if you have another question there, Rolando. I don't want to, um,
No,
if
no,
you've got
this is
something.
this is cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
Hmm.
just if we can go back for a second for the folks out there who maybe want to get into the firearms industry, and from your point of view of not knowing anything or anyone, you said you Googled it, and then you said that you trademarked the name. Was that
Mhm.
Down the Barrel that you trademarked?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
I the first thing you should do is trademark your name always.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
So I trademarked Down the Barrel,
Mm-hmm.
DTB, Down the Barrel Official, Freedom Flows, because that's our logo, Freedom Flows. I trademarked my logo,
Mm-hmm.
and I learned from a person that said, you take a name, like let's say Hank or whoever, you
Mm-hmm.
take a name and then you build it up,
Mm-hmm.
and then someone comes in and they'll trademark your name and they take everything from you
Mm-hmm.
because now they your name. So that was the first thing I learned to do was trademark my name,
Mm-hmm.
and then go from there.
Mm-hmm.
Getting started in business is easy. Uh, Doing a business is simplified, but it's not easy, but it's simplified. But building a brand is difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
It's hard to build a brand, to actually build a brand, because nobody knows you.
Mm-hmm.
It's not and then once you trademark your name and you get into the field that you want to get into. The next thing I did was I got my lowers done, started
Mm-hmm.
getting my lowers so I could show people, hey, I got lowers, because there's nothing else you can resell your lowers.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Everything else on the firearm is easy. It's
Mm-hmm.
as easy as you find it. It's just the lowers. And trademark my name. I got my ATF paperwork done. It took about 3 or 4 months for that to go through. And then as I was doing that, I was working on getting my lowers done.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, man, and then, I going on YouTube and learning from people how to build a brand. And the first thing you do when you build a brand is you got to get your name out there. I heard a gentleman say one time, Grant Cardone. You ever heard of him?
Yes,
Uh,
Hmm.
absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was watching him. He was a big, like, okay, so uh, Nipsey Hussle.
Mm-hmm.
I used to listen to Nipsey Hussle every day. It was
Really?
like you cannot listen to Nipsey Hussle and not go out there and want to grind and make
Yeah.
money.
He's a hustler. Well, he was a hustler.
Yeah.
Rest in
So
peace.
Nipsey was like a big, yeah, R.I.P.
Mm-hmm.
Nipsey, man. He was like even though I didn't know him, just listening to his music influenced
Mm-hmm.
me.
Mm-hmm.
So Nipsey Hussle, honestly, like Rick Ross, I would listen to him.
The
Just my
boss.
music.
Right.
Yeah, the music kind of got me up. And
Yeah.
then so I started watching people like Grant Cardone. I remember
Mm-hmm.
him saying there, he said, he was talking to a guy, and he says, so what do you sell? And
Mm-hmm.
the guy was telling him, and he says, well, I don't know you, so how am I supposed to know to buy from you? And
Mm-hmm.
that clicked with me. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you got to get people to know who you are,
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
in
Mm-hmm.
order for them to buy from you. And
Mm-hmm.
so I started watching him. Um, like I said, Nipsey Hussle, Rick Ross, Grant Cardone. I
Mm-hmm.
started watching just different people. Killer Mike. I
Mm-hmm.
was watching him, and
Mm-hmm.
Black Rambo was like a big one too. I
Mm-hmm.
watched him like, dang, this dude is
Yeah.
really doing it.
Black Rambo
You know,
kind of came out. How long has Black Rambo been out there? Does
A
anyone
few
know? A few
years.
years. Yeah, he kind of came
Yeah.
out of nowhere. It's interesting because the first time I ever saw anything with Black Rambo, I was going through something in my own video, and then like, obviously I've been doing videos for a little while, and whenever you post up videos, you're looking at stuff, and I started noticing that there was this dude, Black Rambo. Every time one of my videos went up, it was suggesting Black Rambo. I was like, what the hell? What's going on here? And then I was looking at it, and he's like shooting sideways and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, okay. But he really built up that name really fast.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
he's the one that, like, I watched him because that lets you know that you can be who you are and be successful.
Yep.
Yep.
Because he is who he is. He doesn't care who doesn't like it. You know,
he's
he is.
pretty unapologetic about it. I've come to realize that. Yeah. Yeah.
And just watching people like that, and learning from him. 50 Cent,
Yeah.
like 50 Cent's a businessman, dude. Like with vitamin water and all that.
Yeah.
Just watching businessmen, taking little bits and pieces from them and learning from them and reading. The first book I ever read, besides like really about business, besides like the Bible, because you can read like Proverbs. Proverbs is about how to be successful. Was what's the one? The Richest Man in Babylon. So I read that, just kind of like, I read that 2 or 3 times over, and then I started reading other books from there. And
can you just tell me what's The Richest Man in Babylon about?
It's just about this gentleman who he was pretty much broke and he wanted to be successful. And so there was a guy who was teaching, a guy that was successful, and he wanted to learn. So he went to him and he asked him about how to be successful. And the guy just coached him on little ways to be successful. And he took that coaching and he added to it until he was like the richest man. And then I think the government or something wanted him to spread the knowledge. So he started teaching others on how to be profitable and rich. And just things like that, like saving so much of your money or learning to live off of so much of your money. Like there was one part in it, and you'll notice if you read it, there's a lot of it that you see in motivational speakers when they talk about money and things. Because like one of the issues he said was the guy says, well, I can't save any money. He basically told him you're living above your means. And so you have to live below your means. So you get to a certain way you can live past your means. And I just took that book and read it a couple of times, The Richest Man in Babylon. That's an awesome book.
I was just throwing up the cover of it. It says that it was originally published in 1926, and it's got 144 page count. So if anyone's interested in that, I would look it up. I think here that Audible has it. So I like to listen to a lot of stuff on audiobook. So while you're dropping some of this wisdom on us, I'm trying to share it with the people out there. I've never heard of that, so I always like to look into things that I never heard of. And 144 pages? Come on.
Not bad.
Yeah, that's a good book that you can read. It's just like this podcast is called Who Moved My Freedom, and it comes from the book Who Moved My Cheese, which I think is a very good motivational book. It's for a lot of people out there who are starting building a business like yourself, and basically it's about rats in a maze, and if you get accustomed to the pathway that it takes to the cheese, and then someone restructures that pathway, what do? Right? You just restructure your way of thinking about it. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I like that. Keep talking. I'm interested in it. What's the name of it again?
It's called Who Moved My Cheese. Really, I think, Rolando, is that, how many pages is it? I think that's maybe somewhere between 30 and 60 pages at the most. You could read it in a day. And that's what that's what I often do. Like I read that book several times a year. It's a good thing just to remind you, because constantly in life, doing what I'm doing on social media, what you're doing, what Rolando, and even it's just in life in general, people are constantly changing the rules.
Yep.
Right.
So you have to learn how to adapt to that. And I think it's a great book. It's been around for a long time, and it's a short book.
That's cool. I'm gonna read that. Like for me, like I also read The Art of War. Was the one I read, and one that really opened my eyes was The Laws of Power.
Right.
Like if you read The Laws of Power, and look at yourself from the point of view of, let's say, the reader, just kind of step out of yourself and look at yourself, you'll start seeing a lot of people. Like I started seeing a lot of people were like manipulating me and doing me wrong. Because it's a book about manipulation and things of that nature. But if you look at it as far as your life, you'll start seeing a lot, and you'll let a lot of people go out of your life just by reading the laws of power.
I agree with you. I think you're right on that. That's a good analogy for that, because whenever, and you guys out there who are listening to this, feel free to let us know what you think about this stuff, and write down some of this stuff if you need to, and smash the thumbs ups. When you listen to the laws of power, and I actually listened to there was a version based off of 50 Cent. I don't know if you ever caught up to that one.
He was with Mr. He wrote the 50th law of power, didn't he?
Yeah, is that what it's called? Maybe it's called the 50th law, but it's loosely based on that, but 50 brings it from his point of view as like someone growing up in the streets. But either one that you listen to, especially the original one, you're going to think, okay, this sounds a lot like things you do to manipulate people. And it might make you mad when you read it, but then I think, like you said, David, you start realizing, there's people doing this stuff. Because there's a lot of that in there that when I listen to that and when I read it, I think, man, I don't want to manipulate people out there. But then you start realizing there are people manipulating people, and you're probably the person getting manipulated.
Yeah, and when I read it, that's what I was thinking. I was like, I don't want to manipulate people, but I just want to see. And I started because I've read it like 3 or 4 times, and I started seeing how people were manipulating me, even if they didn't know it, even if they didn't know that they were manipulating me. It was like, dude, that's manipulation. You know what I mean? So I started like letting a lot of people go on account of things like that. Not just haters, but people that were. I found out a lot of people were doing it purposely. Like you never ask someone who will benefit off of you any advice on business, because their advice is going to be for them to benefit off of. So it's better for you to walk up and ask the total stranger. At least they're going to give you a real answer back. So just things like that. And I started noticing how people were using me and manipulating me, and I had to let them go.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the Art of War does touch on a little bit of that as well. Do you mind just centering a little bit? Whenever I go to 3 people, I don't want to get you cut off there. There you go. And by the way, Armament and Axis says that Who Moved My Cheese, 94 pages.
Yep. So, 94 pages.
Yeah, 94 pages.
I'll read it. I don't care how many pages it is. If it's good, I'll read it.
It's a great book, and I think it's the kind of thing that you read over and over again. I make my kids read it. My wife, Lola, I bring it up all the time. It's really one of those books that I've found. There's some things in life you have to keep going back to. Because human beings, I think we tend to forget things.
Yep.
So even the 50 Laws of Power and all these kinds of things, and I know some people don't think it's important. One, it's really important to keep motivating yourself. And I think that's, for example, I think that's what the Bible is. And I think religion is discipline, and the Bible is a self-help book. It's a motivational book. And there's other things like that you can use. But you need to keep going back to these things. You need to keep reminding yourself of these things. Sometimes we get weak, like we're doing well, and we think we have everything handled and we're going, and then something comes out of nowhere and smacks us upside the head, and our head's spinning and we really don't know what to do. Find that guidance outside of yourself.
Yep. Yeah, for me, the Bible was a big motivation for me, because it's I'm religious, but I'm not get into church and shout religious, that type of thing.
Yeah.
I believe in God and Jesus and stuff like that. But the Bible for me lets you know that no matter how broke you are, you can still be you can still be used in a positive manner. Because if you go through, just about everybody in there was kind of broken in one way. My favorite story, because my name is David, is David in the Bible. And if you think about it, he took a man's wife, then had the man killed. You see what I mean? And the Bible says he was a man after God's own heart, and it turns out he was Solomon's seed, and through that seed came Jesus. That was Solomon's brother. So it's like you can be used no matter how broken you are or how broken you think you are.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Yes, I would agree with that. So, I don't know if I don't know if anyone has any questions here, Rolando. I'm just stopping to make sure. So you got into a lot of these. I'm assuming you've been reading these books throughout. And you were building. Were you working? Like, did you have another job and you were trying to build up the business? How did that go?
So I was working a job, and I was working on the business at night. So I would get off of work because we farm. So farming is late. You might work 2 or 3 in the morning, but most of the time we got off around 10 o'clock at night, and then I would work on the business until 3 in the morning, and I was back up again at 7 o'clock the next day, going back to work. And I used my job to pay the bills and furnish the work. And then so my wife was working too, and she was kind of saving her money. And anywhere I needed help, she would put in anywhere I needed help. So yeah, it's a struggle to get it off the ground. That's why, like I tell my kids, you don't have any bills right now. Go out there and grind and start something, because you don't have the bills. Because like me, I had the house payment. You got your all your bills and stuff, and I had to have a job to keep going, and it was frustrating. Sometimes you felt like giving up. Sometimes you felt like quitting, but you just got to keep going because I could see the future.
Yeah. Yeah.
When was the moment that you felt like it finally worked out, and that you finally felt like, man, this was worth it? Even though you always had the motivation, when was it that you felt like you're really it's coming, it's paying off?
When Black Rambo called me.
Yeah.
Really?
Because I reached out to him on Instagram, and we went back and forth a little bit, and he said like at one point in time that he thought I was just building him a custom gun, and I was like, nah, dude, we're gonna do this thing complete. And then so he called me, and me and him started conversing, and we started talking. We kind of got on Skype a little bit, or through Instagram rather, and we got to talking about it, and then it took us a minute to get to the point to where we could, and then I showed it to him, and he was like, man, this is amazing. And then it was just like, from that moment on, I knew we were going up. And then one day he was on a live, and Killer Mike came up on his live, and he called me, and he's like, hey dude, Mike wants to holler at you. I was like, dude, are you serious? Don't play with me like that. And he was like, no, I'm serious. So
that's awesome.
I started talking to Mike, man, and he is like, you'd be surprised how down to earth people are when you look at them, and like they're famous and stuff. And he calls me, he's like, what's happening, man? They're just like cool as hell. I was like, yep. Yeah. It's a
well, if someone is a genuine, like, one of the things, and so if we're having the Killer Mike conversation, obviously as gun guys, there's all these different things that we can go into. But one of the first of all, Run the Jewels is like, I'm old school. So Run the Jewels, man, I love that group. Right?
Yeah, they're awesome. Yeah,
without a doubt. So he's a great rapper. Killer Mike's been around a long time. But if you listen to him, there's things I disagree with. But when it comes to guns, I feel like that's a genuine gun guy. That's like that's a generational gun guy, even.
Yeah. Because when I first started, like I had I knew you had to get your name out, and so I had one person that was an ambassador for me. And so she was like, yeah, I'm ambassador for you. And she was smaller like I was. We were both small. And her name is Jacqueline J. Miller. And so like, she was like, I'll shout you out. And so I sent her some stuff. She started shouting me out. And I was like, okay, we finally got us an ambassador, even though they're small like I was or whatever, or I am or whatever. And then it kind of grew from there. And now, we're like, we got J. Miller, we got, Killer Mike is pretty. I talked to him, and Rack Ramble talked to him, and then quite a few. Liberty Austin, she's an ambassador for us now. So yeah, we kind of talked to quite a few, and I got a couple of other ambassadors that are getting in the works with me, but we're waiting because we got an energy drink coming out. So
oh boy, it seems like big things are popping off for you.
Yeah, so we got the energy drink coming out.
Okay, sweet. So, before we get into the big stuff, I want to go back a little bit here. I think it's really interesting, you being I don't know how to put it, a smaller manufacturer trying to make your claim in the gun industry. Like, exactly how did you come up on that idea of reaching out to someone like Black Rambo? I'm not sure how big he was at that point,
Oh, he was.
and if whether or not that made a difference in it. Was he like really, really big already at that point?
Yeah, he was over 600,000 followers on
Mm-hmm.
Instagram, and
Mm-hmm.
I reached out to quite a few people.
Okay.
He was the first one that got back to me,
Mm-hmm.
and once he got back to me, I was like, I deleted everything else. I was like, hey, I got this. Me and him was gonna
Yeah.
work together
Uh-huh.
because night before, I'm gonna be honest with you, the night before, I felt like giving up. I
Wow.
was like, oh, it's too hard, and I said a prayer, and I just asked God to open doors, because,
Mm-hmm.
like I said, I don't pray for material things. I pray
Mm-hmm.
for things that I can do myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I prayed for God to open doors, and the next day, Rambo hit me up. I was like,
That's
oh man,
amazing. Yeah.
yeah.
That's pretty awesome, and I to me I think it's a good thing to hear that, and people listening. This is kind of like a tough game, right? And you're on the manufacturing side, myself and Rolando, and maybe even some of the folks out there. We're on the, I don't know how you put it. We're on the content creator side or something like that, and it's a tough relationship. I think there are a lot of bigger companies out there that it's very difficult to deal with because they're bigger companies,
Hmm.
and I always tell people try to deal with smaller companies, because or try to be in a situation where everyone mutually respects the other person, because if
Right.
you're a big company, and I get it, if you're a big company and people already know your name, someone coming along, even if they're a big influencer, what is that really going to do for you? How can you even quantify that? But if you're a
Yeah.
smaller manufacturer, and even if you're a smaller content creator, even if you're not someone as big as Black Rambo was at that time or is now, you can both help each other. You can both help each other grow from that point. And sometimes it just helps to be able to talk and deal with each other where everyone's feeling the mutual love or flow of things. And it's not just, oh, I'm giving this guy a free gun or, whatever it is.
Yeah. So, like, talking with Black Rambo though, um, like after a minute, me and him got like where he would call me, like, to know him personally was
Mm-hmm.
awesome.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Know him person. So even if it didn't go where it went,
Mm-hmm.
just to personally was a gain for me. It was a plus
Mm-hmm.
because I got to learn from him and understand. He understands like stuff that I go through. I understand
Mm-hmm.
what he goes. It's like
Mm-hmm.
a bond friendship there. So
Mm-hmm.
even if nothing happens from here on out, I
Mm-hmm.
still got like a brother forever. And
Awesome.
that's the
What
process.
can what can you tell us? What can you tell us about him? So let's say people out there don't know that much about him. I personally don't, other than he's this guy. He's out there. He makes videos about guns. I've run into him. I think the last time I saw him was at SHOT Show.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yep.
so what the folks out there, what do they need to know about? I believe he's a Marine, right?
Yep,
That's
he's a
something else
prior,
I think I
prior
know. Yeah.
service Marine. He was over in Iraq, I believe, Iraq or Afghanistan, one of the two, but I think it was
Mm-hmm.
Iraq.
Mm-hmm.
He's like very down to earth. Like, he is like, it's like the cousin you go home with at the cookout and chill with and talk to. That's the
Mm-hmm.
type of dude he is.
Mm-hmm.
He's got his own 9mm ammo. He's got his own firearms ammo,
Mm-hmm.
Black Rambo ammo,
Mm-hmm.
and it's good ammo. I got a couple bought cases from him, and I gave a few of them away to like some of our investors.
Mm-hmm.
That's another key thing too when you get into business is investors.
Okay.
I gave some of them away to our investors, and I shot some of them, and they're amazing, man. And like he came up too. I mean, because
Mm-hmm.
he's from Louisiana, he's from backwoods. It was a struggle at one point in time for him to come up.
For sure.
From what I understand,
Yeah.
everybody has a struggle to come up, but
Yeah.
he's got, like I said, he's got some of the best ammo on the market right now. So check out Black Rambo ammo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone has to start at zero.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what he was doing before he started. I'm sorry. I don't. I hate to interrupt you. Do you mind just a little bit moving over just a little bit so we're not? Yeah, I want the people. If you can, yeah, move your chair. There you go. You're in the center. Sorry about that. So yeah, I don't know if he came straight out of the Marines and got into getting on YouTube, or if he was doing, I don't know if he was doing anything else, if he was doing maybe hip hop or something like that. I have no idea. I don't want to even make assumptions about what he was
Uh,
getting up to, but everyone starts at zero.
yeah, yeah. He was a rapper too.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he rapped. I saw some videos and stuff of him. He was rapping with like Kevin Gates and them. Like,
Okay.
yeah, he was a rapper.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he got his own music out and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's an entrepreneur. He's an
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneur
Mm-hmm.
for real.
Mm-hmm.
So he was motivation. And like for me,
Mm-hmm.
um, being in the gun world, in the manufacturing side of it, as a minority, was like, as a minority, I believe is what made it hard. Because people look at you, and, oh man, you made that. You know what I mean? And some people look at you like, for the most part, we have a lot of people, you know, that are there for us, and a lot of people support us. But then you still have your haters, and it seems like a hater's words go a long way. You know, the negative influence about a person goes a long way compared to a positive thing that you say about someone. So, but I just don't let it bother me anymore. I just kind of go with the flow. I'm one of the only minority-owned manufacturing companies in the nation. So. You name one that's owned by a minority.
That has any kind of size? I don't know. I mean, I know there's people. I know there are people of color that are that have their own guns and stuff like that. Like you said, Black Rambo. I think Colio Noir does. I know that Kevin Dixie does. But those are all dealing with Argo. Argo has something. But those are people all dealing with manufacturers, right? So much the same as Black Rambo dealing with you as a manufacturer, but I'm not sure. Maybe someone out there could tell me. I don't know who we could. How about you, Rolando?
You know what I mean? So they're few and far between. So that kind of, you're coming into a world that's really not your world.
Is the Black Rambo rifle going to be a limited run, or is it going to be a line that you're going to have for a while, or how are you doing it?
We do have a limited run of them that are 100 a piece. The first 40 we were 100 a piece. And then we have a line that's coming out that we're just going to sell. It's going to be standard Black Rambo rifles. So those, but the limited edition ones, we only had 100 of those a piece. So
as it stands right now, how big is your manufacturing? You've got a standalone building?
Yeah, we got a standalone building, and we got people that work with us and work for us. Yeah, well, I say work with me. I'd rather say work with me.
Oh, okay. So you don't do everything in house?
We do everything in house except for our handguards and barrels, of course.
Okay.
Like our barrels. And we use Call Valley Precision muzzle brakes.
Okay.
And we use Elfman triggers.
Elfman, very good triggers.
And triggers, and then the SB3 tactical brace. So the upper lower, that type of thing. You know, and you just about everything that come on any firearm is outsourced anyway. So
yeah, that's true. That's true. So
what barrel lengths are they, or do you have different?
We do everything from 8-inch all the way out to 20-inch barrels. So on the AR platform.
Oh, okay. So here's the question I would like to know: how many CNC machines do you have?
Oh, me? Yeah. We have one, but it's easier to outsource it.
Oh,
that's
okay.
the honest.
Okay.
It's easier to outsource it. So, like, if I'm backed up, then we'll try to push some out. But other than that, we outsource everything.
That makes sense.
It's another key thing I learned about business is, I don't want to make this sound bad, but it's better to pay someone else to do it than it is to do it for yourself, because then you have time to do other things. Because I get probably 250 phone calls a day. So I'm always on the phone with somebody.
Yeah. Also, if you have the facilities, so that's a building, then you have to have those machines, and you have to have people running those machines. You know, paying for the electricity, everything else behind that. That's something that you have to absorb. And let's say, for example, all of a sudden what you're building or manufacturing, demand goes away from that. You're going to have to absorb those costs versus, you know, you could, if you've got an agreement with someone, you have that agreement, it's limited at that. You're not stuck with those machines if you don't need them, if you bring down your production or something like that, right? And
right.
Maybe that gives you more room, I think. This is from my point of view. I'd like to hear what you think about it, but it gives you more room to come up with things, because there's a lot of guys manufacturing stuff, or they have really good ideas, but they spend too much time manufacturing those things instead of developing a prototype and having someone do most of that stuff and then getting that actual gun out.
Yeah, because like you're talking like these machines are like $500,000 machines, you know, 250,000 somewhere in there. The other thing too is like it's a building process. So you have to begin somewhere. You got to start somewhere, and like you can't just start out by buying $2 million worth of machines. No bank is going to give you $2 million worth of machines without $5 million worth of collateral. So you have to start somewhere, and then it also spreads the throughout, because we have a lot of veteran companies that we deal with.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of like our laser engravings and things
Mm-hmm.
like that. We have a lot of veteran companies that we outsource to, so
Okay.
it helps them too. A
Yeah.
lot of disabled veterans too,
Mm-hmm.
so it helps those guys too. And it brings people to them. Like one of my buddies, he does laser engraving for us, so
Mm-hmm.
we have the ability to do laser engraving, and we have the ability to do, I mean, you name it, we can do it.
Mm-hmm.
But we outsource to him because it helps him, it helps us. He's part of the family, he grows with
Mm-hmm.
us, and it's just amazing to have someone like that on your side. It's just easier. I mean, put it like this. There's a reason that everything that we have here in America is made in China.
Yeah.
It's just easier to outsource it.
Yeah.
It's to outsource it.
Yeah, also
Yeah.
more affordable. Which is funny you say that. Special K says as long as it's not coming from China. But those things your guns are manufactured here. They're just
All in
manufactured. Yeah.
everything in the U.S. Yep,
Yeah.
everything's in the U.S. We
Yeah.
we buy from all the manufacturers that deal here in the U.S. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's just easier, man. It's so much easier
Yeah.
to outsource it, because, like I said, we're not at the level that
Mm-hmm.
like the Daniels Defense level yet. We're
Mm-hmm.
not there yet.
Not yet. I could tell you, and he's not here, and I don't know if he's in the chat or anything like that. But my friend Walter always tells me this story. Like he goes to Knob Creek all the time, right? He's a
Hmm.
manufacturer. He's not a big manufacturer. I would consider that they have a what you would call cottage level manufacturing, or mom and pop manufacturing, if you want to put it that way. But he goes
Pretty much,
to, huh?
pretty much like me, the smaller manufacturing.
Yeah, but he goes to Knob Creek every year. I've been doing that for a long time. He goes twice a year, except this year when they shut everything down. But he tells me all the time that he remembers years ago being at Knob Creek, and he had a table, and there was this guy who came up there in like a broken down pickup truck, and he didn't even have like a bed cover. So his bed cover of the pickup truck was a door, literally a door, and the guy didn't have a table, and he was like, hey, can I use part of your table? And he used to let this guy use his table and sell his stuff. That was Marty Daniels, Daniel Defense.
Wow.
Man, that's crazy.
Yeah, so he's always, he's like, I saw this guy had nothing and built up his company, and now at SHOT Show, that's like Daniel Defense has, owns a whole wall,
Wow.
a whole big section. So everyone starts at zero.
Yeah, that is awesome. Yeah, that's just your starting point. Like for
Yeah.
me, poverty was my starting point.
Mm-hmm.
So I just went from there and just kept going.
Mm-hmm.
And Knob Creek makes some good whiskey, by the way.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say. I don't know if it's but they're like, that's all I drink is Knob Creek.
Oh, you do? Okay, cool. I'm gonna make sure that if you want to, if after this you want to come back and hang out with us, I'll make sure that next time you come on, Walter is also here, because I think you guys would.
Yeah,
vibe.
that would be great.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be awesome.
Mhm.
man.
Let me get some comments in. Dan Hates You says, Hank, this is your chance to get a Hank. He's talking about, I'm always trying to get people to make a gun and put my name on it. If David wants to sell less guns than Black Rambo, he would get into something like that. So I definitely can't move as many guns as Black Rambo or whatever. And John Crump gave us $2. He says, Davey is my Sifu. What does Sifu mean?
For him, it's more like a spiritual guide. That's what he says.
Okay, that's what he's talking
He's
about.
talking positive things and
Okay.
telling them positive things about life.
Oh,
So,
okay.
yeah, he's
Yeah, very cool, very cool. Yes, and big shout out to John Crump out there, and as you said already here, you did his podcast, so if
yeah.
yeah,
Podcast, Center Mass podcast.
cool.
And we inwardly, talk to the skill set crew and Jason and Ben, know them real well, and
Okay.
Marcus. Yeah,
Okay,
like all
cool.
them, they're like family.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's cool.
That's great.
Let's see. Me Too on Tube says, do you only make ARs or pistols too?
We make only AR platforms right now,
Mhm.
AR pistols and
Mhm.
AR-15 platforms right now is what we
Mhm.
do. It's such a calling for it. I
Mhm.
mean, it's really hard to step out into something else when you've got.
Mhm.
Eventually, will,
Mhm.
but right now it's compressed. I mean, I'm constantly
Yeah.
busy with the AR deals.
When you're ready to do some bullpups, let me know, man. That is something I'll be very
Yeah.
interested in. You know, I don't know
I'll,
if you're aware, like if you're into bullpups or anything like that, but that's my movement right there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm
the,
bringing the bullpup back to America.
I'm just not a fan of them, but yeah, I mean, they're still,
See, there
yeah.
So
you
you got to
go.
make
There you
one that
go.
you'll
Down
like
the
then.
drain. Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, I think
You
they're
got to
really
make a
cool.
better
We could,
bullpup.
yeah, we can make them. We can make. Actually, bullpups are back. They've been back for a while, but because there's lots of companies making really cool bullpups. IWI, it's got some good
Mhm.
stuff. Keltec has some good bullpups that's out there. So there's more than that. Let me get this one, and this one's I'm gonna need to show you full screen here. Motorboater says, "What does the handguard say?" Um, what is that in that red AR behind David?
It's just pressure.
Pressure. Okay, that's is that Black Rambo's line?
Yep, that's Black Rambo's line. Pressure bust pipes. That's what he says. Pressure
Oh,
bust pipes.
yeah,
So that was cool.
that's like a Jamaican thing, like pressure bust pipes, man.
Yeah,
That's where
that
I
was
heard
his
that from.
pressure.
Yeah, yeah,
It's awesome firearm, man. It's
yeah.
pretty cool.
Is
Me and him
Black is
sat down
Black
and we talked
Rambo
about.
is his family or something like that from the Caribbean?
I
Oh,
don't know that part
okay.
much
I
about.
only ever hear Jamaicans saying pressure bust pipes.
Uh,
Yeah, I'm from the Caribbean myself, so that's the only time I ever hear that being said. So either he heard that from some friends or family members, or he was looking, one of those like movies with rosters or something in it. Yeah,
I don't know. I love to go to the Caribbean. I want to go to the Caribbean one day.
yeah.
Oh, I want to
Be
read
awesome.
a real Rastafarian.
Oh, you do?
Like, yeah. I
Wait,
don't
you
know.
want to
It's
go
just like,
Rastafarian?
no, I
Oh,
just want to meet one. I
oh, you
don't
want to
even know
meet
what it
one?
is, but they look so peaceful.
Yeah. Oh, Rastas are cool, man. Yeah, most of them are cool. I mean, listen, amongst every kind of people, you got some, you got some good ones, you got some bad ones. But I
Yeah,
find I
you got
find
some.
Rastafarians to be really cool, and I grew up around a lot of them.
That's
Yeah,
cool,
yeah.
man.
So you can, you don't see it, but I could. I mean, I could go into some Jamaican patois if I have to.
Okay.
Yeah,
I want to learn. That's why, man. Like, Wagwan, man,
yeah.
Wagwan.
What a go on? What a go on? Yeah, yeah. I know. It's fun. Like that's what I grew up listening to, man. Bob Marley. That's like the first stuff I listened to. So,
Yep.
um, let's see here. Night Train says bullpups are an acquired taste, and then everyone's trying to tell us what Sifu means. Sifu's like a teacher. Your Sifu in Kung Fu is your teacher and master. Isn't that like Kung Fu Panda? I think so. That's where I heard it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think you're
Yeah,
right.
I think that's where I heard it. One
Yeah.
often meets one's destiny on the road to avoid it.
that's true. That is true.
Mhm.
Yeah, seafood. Yeah, you got seafood is kind of like a yeah. I
Hmm.
guess we kind of take it as a
Yeah,
positive influence. So
yeah,
um,
yeah,
that kind of thing.
yeah. I carry my revolver in single action says, laugh out loud, Hank. Americans been saying that for decades. Really? Yeah, I've never heard. Maybe that's okay. That could be my experience. You're gonna have to show me some proof. That's all I can say to you.
Mhm.
I've only heard Jamaicans saying pressure bust pipes. So especially just like that. Americans don't say pressure bust pipes. Americans would
Yeah,
say
that was the first
pressure
time I had ever heard.
bursts pipes. They would say it that way, right?
Well, it depends on where you're from, though. You know,
If you
if
hear
you
someone say pressure bust pipes, that's like I don't know.
if the deep down south or something, they
Okay,
might
maybe.
they might say it different.
Yeah,
You know,
maybe. So you're gonna have to show me evidence. That's like yesterday. I was looking at a post. Do you know Maj Toure? I don't know if you know Maj or not.
mm-mm.
Yeah. So Maj, he's the guy that started Black Guns Matter.
Oh yeah, I know him. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, with the dreads.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. And Maj, I saw yesterday, or was it last night or something, made a post, and he's saying how um, Philly started wearing Timberlands first. I was like, what is happening here? How can Philadelphia take credit for Timberlands? That's all New York. That's all New York City. If you
I
go
thought
if you
New York. First time I saw him was like Wu-Tang Clan.
exactly, I don't know what he's talking about. If you
Mhm.
Google it, you will see. If you literally go to the Google, wait, hold on a second. I'm gonna do this right now while we're.
You're gonna have to call Maj out on this one.
I did. I called him out, but he ignored
Oh, you
it.
did?
He ignored it. Yeah, I did call him out, but he ignored it, and then I kind of said something bad about Philly cheesesteak, so a lot of people got mad at me.
Ooh.
Let me do this. Who started where?
That's a surefire way to cause a conflict in Philly.
Yeah. Yeah, who started where? No, let me see. Who made Timberlands? Who made Timberlands? Timberlands. I gotta make sure I spell that right. Popular. There we go. It's a good thing there's an auto spell. Let's see. Sidney Schwartz, introduced by Sidney Schwartz in 1973. They were a hard-wearing boot that was built to last. But then woke New Yorkers started wearing them, and who wrote this? Woke New Yorkers started wearing them in the 80s to keep their toes cozy through harsh winters. Soon they became popular with hip-hop artists in the city too. Okay, I'm gonna take that, but I don't who wrote this thing, Woke New Yorkers.
Probably somebody, they just changed it over the years.
Yeah, no one in New York in the 80s, which I know for a fact because I was there, used that word woke.
Mm-hmm.
So, and DC2 Megaboo says Maj is crazy with that one. Timberlands was a New York Boston thing. No, Boston can't take that either. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
DC2.
They're probably using the woke in the reference to someone like KRS-One or something, on that intellectual level.
Maybe it's because everybody nowadays that uses them is woke.
Yeah, I guess that's why everyone uses that.
Because they were raving that Kamala was wearing. She's like, "Oh, Kamala's bringing back Timberlands." I was like, Kamala, seriously?
Oh, Lola says DC2 Megaboost. I agree. He's gonna have to miss us with that one. Oh, using Maj's own words. Ooh. Miss us. Miss me with that. Okay, if we keep going, Maj is actually gonna hear about that. And
if you say his name like 3 times, he'll just appear out of nowhere.
Yeah, he's like Candyman. Yeah, let's back it off a little bit. But New York started Timberlands. Let's just make that known. I've been wearing that. I've got like Timberlands in my house, and I live in Florida. I've got Timberlands in my closet that I never took out of the box.
That I do. I actually have some too that I've never wore.
Yeah.
For me, I mean, nothing against Philly or anything, but when I like Timberlands, that's what I think of. Wu-Tang Clan, Nas.
Yeah. Nas. Yeah. That's way back. I don't know how Philly got that. Back then, Phillies were wearing, what were they wearing? Loafers or something like that? Flip-flops? I don't know. Oh, boy. You know what's funny? I should have never said the thing about Philly cheesesteaks when I replied, but I think it was late at night. So it did.
That was uncalled for. Uncalled for.
Yeah. So, okay, we're digressing here. We're digressing. Let's see. Armsman says Timbs were made infamous by New York Project hoods and hip hop videos. Yeah, even what's funny? Even my kids, which they mostly grew up here in Florida. Now, one of them was conceived in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, but that's a whole other story. And they were both born in Jersey, but they wear Timbs in Florida. So even here in Florida, I used to wear them more. I don't wear them as much now, but I refuse to wear flip-flops.
No, I don't do that either.
Yeah, which a lot of Florida people do.
It depends. I don't wear like the flip flops with the string in between the toes thing. I don't wear those. Like I'll wear the ones that go across the top. I don't know what sliders.
What is that?
Chilling around the house.
Yeah, what is that called? With the not the toe.
Well, the toe ones are the thong sandals. Yeah. I guess you just call them like regular sandals. I guess.
Yeah, there's like thicker ones. That's what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, I wear the ones that stick across the top, like the Nike or stuff. Kids is all Jordan. That's all my kids wear is Jordan.
It's like open-toed slippers almost, I guess is what you call them.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Old Dog says Tim's are the only shoes he buys in Tennessee. That is, what was I was going to say something about, I was going to say, oh, you know what? I actually know some gun guys who go to the range in those, what do you call them? Those thong slippers.
Dude, I've seen guys that like shooting steel.
Yeah.
In like flip flops and
are you talking about Richard Hughes? Because I've seen Richard Hughes doing it. Yeah.
No, there's a guy down here at the local club. He's one of the he might be one of the masters or grandmasters, so maybe he is, but he just looks like he looks like a hippie. He just walks out there
Yeah.
with his sunglasses and flip flops and shorts, and he goes out there and smokes everybody with the 2011.
Yeah.
I'm just like, who is this guy?
Train how you fight, man. Train how you fight.
Yeah, he's hardcore. He's
like, I could be at the beach, man, and I gotta be ready. Yeah, that's true. I didn't think of it that way.
That's a certain thing with certain people. Like, so I don't wear shorts. It's a very rare occasion. Lola has to make me. She buys shorts all the time because we're in Florida. I don't wear shorts.
Yeah.
You know, but if you grew up like, especially here in Florida, people, I guess, who grew up a lot on the beach, I have a friend that, you know, he could be in North Dakota and he'll have shorts on.
Mm-hmm.
In the
I
winter.
doubt.
Huh?
I doubt it.
No, I've seen him. I've seen him. He's crazy. One time I was like, dude, do you have any actual regular pants? And he said, no, I don't. If something comes up and I have to wear full-length pants, I have to go to the store and buy that. So it's just one of those. It's just one of those weird things, right? Like, I don't think guys should even show their toes.
No.
Yeah, that's for the ladies.
Not outside. No, not outside your house. No.
Yeah, dudes aren't supposed to be that. I'm not saying don't take care of your toes. Clip your toenails or whatever. But dudes are not supposed to be showing off their toenails and all that kind of stuff. We went down a wrong path here.
Start off with shoes and Maj.
Yeah, Motorboater says Brandon Herrera wears tactical flip-flops. He's that guy.
He seems like, he's the kind of guy that would do that.
Yeah, he's that guy. He also doesn't like bullpups, so that's another thing right there.
Man.
Yeah,
I thought he was. I thought he was kind of cool when I met him, but now I don't know. I'm gonna have to reconsider.
He doesn't like bullpups. He's only an AK guy. Only an AK guy. Let's. This is a good way to segue back into some gun stuff. How do you feel about AKs, David?
Ishnikov, I love them.
Okay.
But I won't carry one. I just don't. I don't know. I love the way they look.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been one to carry one. It's like revolvers. I love revolvers.
Mm-hmm.
I got a collection of them.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I've maybe fired one of them. Nothing wrong with it. I think it's an awesome gun, but I just don't.
Okay.
I don't care. It's the AR-15 guy, you know.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yep.
So in terms of just to get back to like what you do as a manufacturer, I think we were talking about how you started the company. I don't know if we came up to fully like I think we did. We covered a little bit of what you guys are doing right now. What do you see in the future? And would you go into things like that? Would you build AKs? I see there's more manufacturers here making AKs here.
Yeah,
what kind of stuff do you guys want to get into?
My motivation is for Down the Barrel to be a household name.
Mm-hmm.
It's so like when you talk about firearms, you talk about us. That's my motivation. So I kind of want to dib and dab into everything. I want to be, but I want to, because you take one thing and you build it all the way to the highest possible way, and then go exceed that, and then you start with something else. Mm-hmm. So we're in the AR-15 now, and then we'll be in the AR-10, and then we'll move to the 1911 style pistol. That'll be the third thing that we're doing.
Okay.
Is a style pistol, and then we'll go from there. AKs and AR. I don't know if we call them AKs, but we'll call them something.
Okay. So more than likely, you're saying the first handguns are going to be 1911s.
1911s, yep.
Oh, okay. How soon are you guys getting into that?
We're trying to do it by the end of the year, beginning of next year. That's what the goal is.
Okay.
Just that, it's 1911s are a big market, but the market for them is competition.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody wants a competition, and the thing you got to look at too is like your cost versus your sale, and your profit margin on them and things of that nature. Just coming into it as a small manufacturer. So I have to build up what I have first until we can get to be a household name for everyone, and then come to it like, oh man, Down the Barrel's coming out with their own 1911.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a building process. Everything's a building process for us.
Right do you know if you want to go more into the boutique style 1911, or like you said, competition 1911s, or like classic style GI and kind of work from there?
I want to go into something that you'll carry.
Okay.
Something that you'll carry. Something that when you put it in your hand, you're like, damn, I like this. Mm-hmm. Like for I'm a Glock fanboy, so like all I carry is Glock. That's it. All I shoot, everything is Glock, 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 Glock. I got numerous Glocks,
Mm-hmm.
everywhere hidden around my home and stuff. But like the first, my buddy brought his Kimber over to me, and when I held it, I was like, oh shit, like this is amazing. You know what I mean? And what got me thinking into the 1911 platform.
Okay.
I think a lot of people make fun of them nowadays, especially younger guys, and I don't know why. I've got one right here, and I love it. That one's 9mm. It's just a Ruger, but it's just I feel like they're so natural to shoot. They're just such a great gun to shoot, and I love it. Like it's like you said, that's not a gun I would carry, but when I go to the range, it's my favorite handgun to shoot. Just because there's something about 1911s that just feels good. Like you can put that in anytime that I take a first time shooter out and I give them a 1911, they just drill it really easily compared to any other gun for some reason. So I just think it's it's just a natural pistol to use.
Yeah, 1911 is like a good gun to use for like, to carry in the shoulder holster. Like, and where you want to look good where you're going, like you got a suit on. When you take it off, people are like, damn, that's a nice gun,
Yeah, you're rocking a nice leather holster or something like that,
It's like a barbecue gun.
Yeah, nice leather rig for it. Absolutely. I think, I think what the thing is for a lot of folks nowadays with 1911s and even ARs is that there's so many of them, right? Like we got to a point where everyone's making an AR, everyone's making a 1911. Everyone says we're doing this different. We're changing the game. But it's not to knock them. I mean, we were talking about this the other night with Military Arms Channel. What rifle out there is better than the AR-15? I mean,
overall,
it's been around
nothing.
for a long time. It's done a lot.
Yeah.
Overall, to me, nothing.
Yeah, I mean, AK guys are going to get crazy right now.
No, but it's the modularity that's the difference. Like the AK is a great platform, is like a singular platform, but the AR-15 can basically be anything that you want. You can have a pistol, you can get a pistol AR that can be your everyday carry essentially in a backpack. You got a 20-incher that you can chamber in, and you can get 6.5 Creedmoor like AR-10s now and use them to shoot almost PRS.
It's
so
easy
the
to
platform
adapt.
can do
You're
everything.
just looking at your magwell, maybe, and your barrel, and you could adapt that whole platform.
And you can build the Grendels right on the AR-15 platform. So there's a lot. There's probably 20 or 30 different calibers you can build on the AR platform.
Yeah.
So it's not just 5.56. It's a lot of calibers you can build on them.
Yeah, and people say that AKs are simple. I think that ARs are just as simple, if not even more so. Folks say that, AK can run really dirty. I myself have tested that. That's not actually true. It's more difficult. It's easier to get an AK, to get stuff inside of an AK. More difficult to get stuff inside of an AR. You can stop up either one of those guns, but it's especially depending on what happens, it's a lot easier to get that AR back running.
I think it just comes from the reputation that AKs are everywhere in the entire world and everyone uses them, so people have seen them run in every condition. Whereas ARs are, they're ubiquitous in the West, but I mean, it's got the combat experience. I feel like sometimes, even to this day, people go back to like the M16s when they first came out in Vietnam, and people still reference that. I was like, no, a modern AR platform is totally different. It's a much better gun. So
go ahead.
The AR platform to me is like we put sand in ours when we test fire them. We'll put sand in them. We'll test fire them through that way. We do mud, sand. We actually throw them in a big mud hole and like walk on top of them and that type of deal. And any gun, any firearm, no matter what it is, there's a stopping point to it if you do it to it. And I tell people, they're like, how does it run with sand in it? That's what the dust cover's for. Just close down dust cover. You just douse it in a little bit of water. It's a simple concept, charging handle, bolt, buffer tube, spring, and trigger assembly. That's pretty much it. You can pull it out with air and go right back to it with an AR-15 if need. Pour a bottle of water over it. It's an easy platform. It's easy to break down. You ain't got shit flying everywhere, and put it back together and go and run. It's a platform.
It's not. I'm not knocking an AK either. I think it ultimately comes down to a preference. You can make AKs to a certain degree light. You can also make ARs heavy. You could definitely make an AR lighter if you really really wanted to. I don't know if that's necessarily going to be a performance type of deal though. You're not going to get the same performance out of it, but I think that it's just one of these things, and I'm already seeing people in the chat going at it. I love them both, but if I had to choose one, I would take the AR.
Mm-hmm.
I would take the AR too, because for me, this is my personal opinion, is I can hold it on target better.
Mm-hmm.
I can hold it on target at a faster rate of fire than I can AK.
Mm-hmm.
Just as simple as that, and
Mm-hmm.
for me, I really don't, I know AR inside and out,
Mm-hmm.
so, and I just feel like you can hold it on target better,
Mm-hmm.
and it seems quicker to reload,
Mm-hmm.
my personal opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it depends on who you are and how you do it. It's the same thing for 1911s, right? So in the 1911 world, most people are very traditional and they like single stacked. I've had double stacked 1911s. I'm kind of that, but a lot of guys don't consider that a 1911. But I've seen guys that practice or compete competitively with 1911s, and man, you don't want to mess around with those guys. They know how to reload really fast, and they're accurate and all of that. It really depends on which. It's a machine, and a lot of times, just like a car or something, it comes down to who's driving it and how experienced are they with that, and
Mm-hmm.
what can they do with that. So would I rather have 15, 17 rounds before I have to change a magazine? Yes.
I think it comes down to like cars. I think it's very similar to cars. It's like, of course, you love the modern car that has the power steering. It can shift for you faster than you ever could, but there's nothing like, driving an old school like muscle car or a car from the 50s, an old school car like that just feels good. But you don't necessarily want it to be your daily driver. When you just want to go get groceries real quick and you want to chill, you just get your pickup truck or your regular car and you go.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you want to go to the track, you take out, your modern sports car because it's gonna be faster. But
Yeah.
But here's my
Go
take
ahead.
you take a regular 1911 off the rack with nothing done to it. Take a Glock off the rack with nothing done to it, and let a 1911 guy run both of them. Let a Glock guy run both of them.
Mhm.
See which one you reload faster. See
oh
which
yeah,
one on target more.
Yep.
You know what I mean? That's as simple as that.
Mhm.
You ever tried to quick speed reload a 1911 off the rack 1911? It is a slim fit.
It is.
With the Glock, you got a little bit more. You can get in there a little quicker.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's my preference to it. A quicker
Yeah.
reload.
Yeah, I think it comes down to some people. I always say that there's a guy who grew up with a 1911, his granddad or whatever had a 1911, and he was running that. You know it like the back of your hand, right? And then if you try to go over to a Glock, that angle, it's almost like your hand is maimed now for a Glock, and you hate a Glock. But for me personally, just because I didn't, and I did when I really started doing this, I tried to go the 1911 route, but really Glocks were or that kind of handgun worked the best for me. So I would agree with that. But that's because I didn't have that beaten into me as a child, like some of the gun guys did out there when it comes to 1911s. But because they had that, it's very natural for them. Whereas for me, I feel like the Glock is the most natural.
Yeah, that's for me too. And we had in the Army, we had the M92 Berettas. The Glock was just more natural to me. I just like it, quick reload. And I also I carry I know it sounds crazy, but I carry a revolver for a backup in case. Because my revolver's for press contact.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's just because 1911 Glocks and those, you really can't do a press contact if you're in that situation.
Nope.
So
yeah,
chance happens.
Yeah, it could go out of battery really easy. I think you're saying, right? Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. Even if you're wearing even if where you are, you're wearing heavy jackets and things like that, you can keep a revolver in your pocket if you need to, and you go into your car, somebody comes up behind you, you could shoot right through without any issue too, and it's not going to get caught up a lot of times, especially if you have a hammerless or bobbed hammer or something like that.
Yeah. Jen Champ Jr. says, I'm still waiting for 1911 with the Glock 18 features. Just saying.
I want to try out the what's the CZ hybrid called? I forgot what that one is. That it's basically like a 1911. It's a 1911. I guess you could say upper or slide with like a CZ grip, and it's a double stack. I forgot what that was called. Somebody in the chat probably knows.
Yeah, one of those CZ aficionados out there.
It just looked cool. It's not because it's a CZ. It was just because I was like, man, that's nice. It's not. It's another double stack that's not a 2011.
Yeah. Okay, so let me switch a little bit here. This is a question from our buddy John Crump. He says, ask about Killer Mike. So tell us the Killer Mike story and how Killer Mike came into to play with what you're doing with Down the Barrel.
So, like I said, Rambo was on a live one time, and Mike came up, and then a few minutes later, Rambo messaged me, and he was like, "Hey, man, Mike wants to talk to you." And I was like, "Killer Mike?" And he's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Dude, are you serious?" He's like, "Yeah." So, I said, "Well, give him my number." You know what I mean? And so he called me, and when he called me, I was like, just hello, how you doing, whatever. And he was like, "Yo, man, this is Mike." And I was like, "Killer Mike." He was like, "Yeah." And then I immediately went into like fanboy status. I was like, "Man, you're a big influence, yada yada." And he was like, calm down." He's like, and then so we got talking, and we got to talking about he wanted a black Rambo rifle, and pretty soon we got to like messaging each other, and talking about he's an influence as far as business and things go too. And then he'd call me, and I text him and say, "Hey man, I got a quick question to ask," and he would call me and stuff, and it's like he's like really down to earth and really really super knowledgeable when it comes to like just about anything in the world that you can see, because he's been in the industry, he's been on this side, he's been on that side. So I mean, very intelligent guy, man, very intelligent. So shout out to him, man. He's a real cool dude. I sent him one. He did a video on it, and he called me. He's like, "Man, I'm gonna do some video shooting it." He's like, yeah. But he's busy. If you notice right now, he's like constantly busy. So for him to call me when in the middle of him being busy is amazing, because like he was doing like photo shoots and videos and stuff while me and him were talking on the phone. It just shows you how down to earth he is, how laid back he is. So he's a dude.
And I believe in the last couple of years, the profile has really gone up for a couple of reasons. I'm going to say definitely the music, also some politics, mixed into that, a little bit of both. They do a lot of really cool soundtrack stuff and all that. Obviously, Run the Jewels I think they just put out an album.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're always in stuff. I was playing a video game the other day, and Joe was like, what game is that? I was like, I don't know. She's like, that's Run the Jewels. Like, I can tell that beat from a mile away. And it's like, we looked up, and it's like they did a custom beat for this random video game because the company is in Atlanta too. So I guess they collaborated with them or something. I was like, wow, that's crazy. So he's everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's amazing that like they're like, okay, so like I heard 50 Cent say one time, he said, in order for music to sell in this generation, you have to dumb it down. And if you listen to music, a lot of it is dumbed down. It's pretty much 1 and 2 lines with a bunch of oohs and ahs, and you really don't understand it. And then you get guys like Jay-Z, Eminem, you got Logic, you got guys like that, Killer Mike, that actually you have to listen to their verses in order to understand what they're saying. And Run the Jewels actually puts a good beat behind the verses, and it just makes it. You can tell the real people that really listen to music and the ones that just want to jump around to a beat. So. And I like how they it's like they're bringing back the 80s again, and beats are awesome, and the lyrics are something. So that's awesome as far as their deal goes.
Yeah, I like the song. I don't know if it's called Ooh La La, Ooh La La. Yeah, that's from oh man, how did it Nice and Smooth. I know they recently did something with them that I thought, I just listened to that over and over again, because I mean I grew up with Nice and Smooth. And that beat was insane.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and the lyrics and all that kind of stuff, those guys, they really do go into it there. So when it comes to gun stuff, you know, there's obviously a lot of things we could talk about with Killer Mike. A lot of guys in the gun community remember the whole situation that went down with him and Coleon Noir, where I think they had a really good conversation, and then some people got a hold of that, I guess, and, you know, got into their feelings about it. But I think Killer Mike was coming from a good place. Wait, yeah. Looks like we lost you there for a second.
Yeah, I'm constantly getting people on. So.
Oh, yeah. So I think that whole story a lot of people know about from that point of view. But when it comes to guns, what kind of stuff? What's he into gun wise?
The Black Rambo pressure.
Oh, okay.
One. He was intrigued by the AR-15 style platform.
Mm-hmm.
As far as I understand and I know, it's the AR-15 style platform. He was just, you know, intrigued by it, and he liked it. He loved it, actually. He's like, man, it's beautiful. You know, as far as the guns go for him, that's pretty much our limit as far as we knew was the pressure in the AR-15 line. When I talk to him, most of the time it's about like learning from him, because I'm always trying to learn something from people as far as business-wise goes, and he's awesome when it comes to it.
Okay, so what kind of wisdom is he dropping on you?
Man,
he share some of that with us.
Oh my God, he drops wisdom like unbelievably. Everything that if you watch his videos, the things that he talks about, like I try to talk to him about, like, get me to, hey, can you explain that a little bit more detail? And so, like, he'll explain certain things to me. And like the other day, well, I don't know if I should say it. Because it was
yeah, don't necessarily get into any trouble on our behalf.
Well, no, it's not trouble. It's just that, like, it's certain things that we say. Like, for me, I study words and where they came from.
Okay.
And certain things that we say, like me and him were doing a discussion about it, and like okay, for example, the word freedom. Like, we take it as in a certain type of word, but the actual word freedom, free, comes from the word frio, which is a European word, and it means to love. And dom comes from the word, you know, dominatrix or whatever you want, means master. So the actual freedoms mean to love your master.
Okay.
So it's like I started studying, like, okay, why, well, you know, but we use it in a different platform, of course, obviously. But that's the word actually derived from, was to love your master. And if you look it up, you break it way down to the original roots. So like, you know, I still use it, don't get me wrong, but certain words I don't use anymore because they have a negative influence. So
that's the way I think Killer Mike's brain works. You know, and I think there's lots of, I looked at the TV show that he had. I think that was on Netflix, if I'm not mistaken.
Netflix,
yeah. And I thought that was interesting. I thought he made some good points in there. You know, it was interesting to me when he was talking about, like, Black Wall Street, and he was talking about how there was a time, for example, with black people, that the money stayed in the community longer before it went outside of the community, and nowadays it's like, I mean, I think it stayed, like a month or more than that back in the days. But today it's like literally seconds. And I think that's all of us. You know, I think that's all of us as people, that we don't use our...
generational wealth is what we got to build.
Yeah. And even as gun guys, I think we're suffering through that same thing. You know, I think as gun people, we're on the mainstream stuff. We're on YouTube right now and we're using it, but they don't really like us. You know, and they're constantly doing stuff to us. I saw how recently Iraq veteran got about, I think it was more than 100 of their videos just deleted by YouTube. And, you know, Twitter is just banning people left and right and doing all this kind of stuff. And even as a community, as gun folks, we're spending a lot of money, but how much of that is really staying inside of the community? And then what outside control do people have? Because we don't do our own financing. So if they don't like something they're doing, they could shut us down through financing. They could shut us down on social media because we just don't have our own ecosystem.
I've even heard, I think, I don't know if other people have heard this, that one of the other strategies that they want to start using now to tamp down on the Second Amendment is to start buying small gun companies up and then just basically buying them out and then either running them out of business or just closing up shop. So I heard that's the next level they want to go to, which is like, what are you going to do with that? That's crazy.
If you're buying them, bring me 50 million, and then we'll talk. But
I think the idea
That's the problem. That's the
the
problem.
thing about it, I think what's happening there is that those guys understand how powerful the money is.
Yep.
You know, and what they can do with it. So the thing is if you go out there and you buy up these companies and you own all of that intellectual IP, it's not just shutting down, okay, well, we're not going to sell guns to these people. Now you have the ability to keep those guns for yourself.
Well, you
Or
can,
sell
or
them
you
to
can
whoever
even
you
use
want
them
to. Yeah.
Yeah, you could even lobby. Like you could say, like my companies can manufacture these firearms for private or government contracts, but nobody else can buy them in that
Yeah.
case. So,
And that's how you get people out of it. It's the same thing with ammo. It's there's all these ways that I think that this is what money could do. Money is a tool like anything else. I mean, it's something like we're talking about words. Money is something that we fabricated.
for
Right?
control.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You know, we used to do things by barter. You know, so man to man, each man had his own skill and a thing that he could do. You know, this man could raise crops. This guy could raise, you know, farm animals or whatever it was, right? This guy can make stuff. This guy can make swords or shoes or whatever it is, and we could trade those things for things or barter with each other. But this money concept, it's just a thing, especially nowadays, especially if you look at what happened with this whole COVID-19 thing and everyone's really just using electronic money. There's not a lot of change out there. The government's actually thinking, they've been looking at Bitcoin for a long time and don't like that. They're thinking, oh, let's find a way to make up our own money and we can control it and just print this stuff. And I think there's folks out there who understand the power of money and forget about the Constitution or getting politicians to make up laws. They can get at us through that, especially if they have ownership of gun manufacturers.
It's money. Money is influence, and knowledge is control.
Mm-hmm.
And then you look at it from the other side. Money is control, but knowledge is an influence.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, people. The problem with it, from where I've learned about money, is people don't understand it.
Mm-hmm.
They don't understand how to use it. They don't understand how to build from it. They don't understand how to make money work for them. And you got all these people saving money and saving money. I'm gonna put this back in the bank. For money that sits is no good to you. It's no good to you, and people don't understand that. And that's where the control in lies. Is like you get it where, like, for example, banks tell you to put your money in savings. Well, when it goes to savings, they make more money off of it, which gives them more control. You don't make nothing of it. In your mind, you're thinking you're secure, but you're not. And it took me a minute to learn that. And that's the problem with, like, where I'm from, the people where I'm from. Everybody's into saving and nobody's into expanding. And how can you save something that you really don't have? Because you understand how to grow a business or grow yourself out there to make more money. So, you're saving on the penny. Zero from zero is zero. You know what I mean? And that's the problem with it. The reason why we don't have money in, like, our culture anymore is because no one owns businesses anymore. And look at it, the businesses they own got destroyed.
Yep. I think the key is not necessarily just the money, it's the investment. So a lot of people in our communities do spend the money, but they don't invest it in themselves. So they'll use material things. They'll keep up with the Joneses, they'll show off, and then the money's gone, and it's not an asset that they can use to enrich themselves. Or, like you said, you can spend $250,000 on an exotic car, or you can spend it on a CNC machine that you can actually use to make money for you all over again. So that's the difference between people's priorities, I think. And that's the real problem. They don't invest in themselves. They invest in things that make them feel good, but not necessarily that really enrich them.
Yeah, and like, that's the thing I like about Mike is, if you look, he's got nice stuff, but he's got businesses.
Yep.
He owns a lot of businesses. And he lets people know that he owns businesses, and that's and he's a good teacher on how to grow. And, like, we sent one of our pistols to Derek Grace. I don't know if you know him, but he was, like, in Forbes for, like, one of the guys that makes like $1.5 million a month or something. He's a businessman. And he teaches about business, and he teaches about how to monetize everything you do. And so we just don't have enough of that. I ain't gonna say we don't have enough of it. I'm gonna say we don't have enough people that want to hear it. Nobody wants to sit and save and work for a year to build something. They want something right now at this moment.
Yeah.
Well,
And
I don't think.
well,
Go ahead.
oh, sorry. I was gonna say because that's like your story. Your story shows that you have to work hard.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I was listening to one of this YouTuber that I watched, Tim Pool. He basically does news and he's a journalist. And he's like, somebody asked me the other day, how did I become like the journalist now that I am, that I own multiple companies and I have like a huge platform with like 50,000 viewers every time I go live.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, it's because when I first started out, I sold everything I had and I slept on people's couches to get the story that I needed. And I went all over the world and took reporting jobs that nobody wanted in like dangerous places. So now I can sit in a room and I can just report and I have people work for me. But I had to bust my ass and basically give up everything, and which is pretty much your story. And people don't like to hear that because they see where you are and when things are actually self-sustaining and you've established it and they're like, oh, well, it's easy. Now you're reaping the benefits, and they don't understand how many years of blood, sweat, and tears it took to get there.
Yeah.
And that's not the story they like to hear.
They don't want to. Nobody wants to grind and struggle to get it and work to get the whole thing. They want the right now money or whatever. They want the right now thing, and that's what leads a lot of people in the bad side of the law, in the bad direction, is they want the right now money. You know, and they don't understand about investing and how to do simple little small investments now can be big investments later. And so like, yeah, I talk to a lot of my friends about that, like what you need to do now, like certain things that other people don't like, for one, and I, you know, whatever, but don't ask your boss man for financial advice. Because if you're a bad worker, he's not going to give it to you because it's not worth his time. And if you're a good worker, he don't want to lose you, right? So find someone, and even if you can't ask them, watch them on YouTube. You'll learn something. Review it every time. Look at how the way they move, the way they talk, how they move their hands when they talk. Look at every key detail, because there's a detail to selling, there's a detail to making money, and there's a detail to investing. You just have to look and learn from that.
Yeah.
So
I think one of the biggest things, and the reason why, so for folks like, I don't know, let's say we put ourselves in the same category. I don't know if we're there or not, but a lot of times if your parents didn't understand money, when you come into money, you don't understand it either. So you go through things, right? You do all these things, you spend money on things, and there's a lot of things, depending on who you are. I'm the kind of person, I spend money on guns and cars and stuff like that, just as well as anyone else. A lot of people believe the safest thing to invest in is their home. I don't, this is my opinion, just over life and over time, I've come to the understanding that it's not. A lot of people wind up putting all their money into a home. They get a $150,000 home, and then when they go up to $250,000, and then $500,000, and then $1 million if they could do that. And always the home is this big expensive thing, but they're working for people. There's nothing wrong with having $1 million home or multi-millions. But if that's everything to you, well, that's a thing that other people control. And it's a thing that feeds off of you. And it doesn't feed you back, right? Especially if you're living in it. Maybe if it's an apartment building, it's different. So what happens to a lot of us is if we don't understand those things, we react that way until we understand, or we never understand and we just go around in a circle like that. But I think one of the things that happens to a lot of people and that I learned is that people always say to you, knowledge is power. And I don't think that's true. I'll tell you why. Like to just have a book, right? Even this one, because I'm looking around for a book. If you have this book, this isn't power. This is just a book. This is just words. You have to read it. You have to understand it. You have to be able to apply that. And when you go out to apply that, you mess up. You make mistakes. So now you have to be able to go back and say, okay, how did I mess up? What did I do wrong here? Okay, let me try this again and fix that. And so to me, what's really power is when you take this knowledge, you actually read it, you actually try to apply it, you learn from your application, and so eventually you have understanding of that thing to the point where you could do it over and over again. That's what becomes the power. But it takes, some of us never learn that lesson. Some of us learn it really late, and some people who are fortunate enough, someone teaches them that to them, right? before they get in
Yeah.
trouble, like you were saying with your kids, that you're trying to show your kids this is a great opportunity. You have to make mistakes and go out there and invest in things when you don't have other expenses.
Yeah, I told my kids, I was like, I would, if I was your age again, I would have loved to had someone who could guide me the way that I can guide you,
Mm-hmm.
because I was guided on a bunch of nonsense,
Mm-hmm.
and it wasn't that they were pushing me down purposely. It was just that they didn't understand.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't understand. I mean, like for us, like I said before, moving from the house with the wood heater to a mobile home was a big move, and there's nothing wrong with it if you live in a mobile. I live in mobile homes for years,
Mm-hmm.
but just to turn the thermostat up
Mm-hmm.
was a big move for us, and that was like a small goal that we had to accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
But I wish I would have had bigger goals, like instead of buying a mobile home, buy the whole mobile home park.
Mm-hmm.
You see, just
Mm-hmm.
big goals that I can achieve. And for
Yeah.
me, honestly, my personal opinion is buying a house is a mistake. It's a mistake if you're trying to do something in life. Buying a house should be the last, unless you can pay for it cash.
Mm-hmm.
It's a mistake.
Yeah, I
Buy
think.
rental.
Yeah, I know there's people, and I'm not trying to offend anyone out there with that. I think it's like if you have your home and you're into that, that's awesome. But it depends on who you are. Like, and I have these conversations a lot, especially with my wife. If you're a dude like me, you're a risk taker. That home is just becomes a weight. There's other things that becomes weights. Let's be on. We can be honest about it. Like my wife will tell you, well, your car is a weight. Because I
Yeah.
like to have a nice car and stuff like that, without a doubt. But I think that that trap of the home becomes that. Like Lola and I, we live in a mobile home, and we came from McMansions. What people call McMansions and stuff like that. Really big houses, so many rooms. We didn't even have furniture to go in the rooms. We never some of those rooms we never saw. We just didn't even go in there. And then I discovered I could buy a mobile home on a piece of land. I could own this really fast. I could do what I want to do out here. I could have peace and all of that. But the big thing is it gives me this flexibility to invest in things like this stuff that we're doing all here. This is an investment in something that when I'm sleeping, it pays me little tiny pennies. Most folks out there that are listening to us make more money than I do right now. But I'm creating things that maybe it's making pennies today. Sometime in the future, it makes a couple of bucks. And then that goes on and goes on from there. And it always has a value, especially because we're recording things. This is like intellectual properties that we have ownership over. So, but it really, all of that's the same thing. It's relative to what you're doing, David. It's relative to a lot of people out there if you're taking that risk. But if you do it with your home, I always remember this story when it comes to a home. When the guys started up Apple, who are the guys that started Apple again?
Wozniak and Jobs.
Yeah, Wozniak and Jobs. But do you know there was a third guy?
Yeah, I always forget the third guy.
There was
because I read Jobs. I read Jobs' autobiography, or not his autobiography.
Exactly,
his
but this
biography.
is the thing.
Yeah.
There was a third guy, and that third guy, when they were in Wozniak's mother's garage or whatever it was, that third guy was invested in Apple. He owned Apple, but he was afraid of how long it would take for Apple to become something, and he was scared that he would lose his house. So he told those guys to buy him out. Billions and billions of dollars that guy lost because he got bought out in the beginning, and he was so scared of what would happen. They would take his home from him. They would do this. I'm not knocking him for it, but he was a young guy, and he's had to live for decades thinking those dudes are multi-billionaires off of that risk, but he could not take that risk. And I think that's the thing that you just have to ask yourself, who are you, and what kind of risks do you take? And yes, you can have a business and lose everything and have nothing, but if you learn, like I said, you could go back to the beginning, start again, do better, and you can go up if you're really built for that.
If I could go back again, I would buy a mobile home on a small piece of land, something that I could plant a garden and maybe have some chickens or something, you know what I mean? No, I'd have a mobile home with a bed, and that's it. I wouldn't have a couch. I'd have maybe a kitchen table, no television, none of that, and I would go straight into starting a business, because everything else would be in the way.
Mm-hmm.
So you imagine if you just had a nice single wide on an acre of land with just a bed where you can go to sleep and a nice kitchen where you can eat family dinner, and then everything else is outside because
Yeah.
there's no reason to be in. And I just
Yeah.
build a
That's it.
brand.
I've been trying to get Latina locked and loaded on that
Uh-oh.
one. I don't think she's gonna have it.
No,
Slowly but surely. But I've definitely gotten like we at least got to go with the plot of land and build something small and work from there. Not go
Yeah.
haywire or anything like
Yeah,
that.
this is not to knock women, and all men and all women are not the same, but I think a lot of women like that security of the home. That's what means something to them. Like, they want to have this home, they want to have this place to sleep and their children to be there and their family. I think that's the way Lola feels about it.
No, there she goes. She's in. She
Oh.
thinks tiny homes are nice too. She just got home from work.
Oh,
That's
tiny.
my wife says, can we get a lot of land with a tiny home?
Yeah.
Because my
Yeah.
youngest son is 16. So, he'll be graduating here in a couple of years. So she's like, let's just sell everything and get a tiny home with some
Yeah.
land. And I'm like, all down for it.
Well-
Because that's the time that you actually can do it, stuff like buy other land, buy more
Yeah.
land.
Your home, if you have a big, beautiful home, it's awesome. And depending on the market, if it's a great market, you could sell it. If the market is in any kind of trouble, the bigger that thing is and the more awesome it is, the more difficult it is to sell that thing. So even if you have a nice car, you could do something about that. And you take less of a loss. I think in the situation when it comes to guns and stuff like that, and lots of things go this way: buy low, sell high. Believe it or not, like I know a lot of gun guys don't like to sell guns. When guns are high like this, I sell some guns.
Oh, yeah.
I look at guns that I know, I'm like, this is not, because I have guns I collect, and guns that I buy them because we need to do videos, we're doing this thing or that thing. But when that time comes, if it's high right now, I sell it. If everything is low, there's things I'm like, yeah, I'm going to buy that, I'm going to buy that. But smaller things are easier and faster for you to move. When it comes to a home, it's not so easy. You could take equity out of it and stuff like that, for sure. But it's so easy to do that a lot of people, you take out the equity so you can get a nice car. Okay. That doesn't necessarily do anything for you.
That's the other thing about how we're taught, though, because, like, okay, for example, we are taught from the time you get out of high school is to go in debt. The first thing they teach you is get your credit right. That's just getting you in debt. That's all it is. We're taught to be in debt. And that's the reason I said that I would save my money up, buy me a nice mobile home, and work on my business with some land, grow some crop, some things you can can and stuff like that. Because you're taught to be in debt from the time you leave, because you're not taught business in high school. You're taught to be in debt.
Yeah.
You're taught to get a job, and because you think about it, school is 8 to 3. You be there at 8, you get out at 3 or 2:30 or whatever time. And it's basically you clock in, you do whatever you're supposed to do, and you clock out. That's baseline for a job. So you're being debt, man. And I started seeing that being in business, like, oh man, I will not teach my children that.
Wasn't it Ray Kroc with McDonald's that the real genius behind McDonald's was not that it was a fast food place, it's that it allowed him to buy up so much real estate everywhere. Just because this building's a placeholder for the land that it's actually on, and that was the real investment.
Yeah.
So,
I think
about it.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say real estate is I'm sorry, let me just get this real quick, because I see some people might take a thing with it. Real estate is good if you're as an investment. If you're living in it and it's nice, hey, nothing wrong with that. Not knocking it. But real estate is great as an investment. A car, even guns or whatever, like I said, those aren't the best investments. But what's a true investment? The definition of a true investment is something that feeds you. It doesn't eat off of you. So if you have a home, what most of us do is we buy the most home we could afford. So you're right at the limit of what you could afford. What is that doing? That's eating you. If you're going to invest in real estate, if you bought an apartment building or something like that, and there's people renting it, even if those people renting are paying the mortgage on that, then that thing's not eating you. And eventually it's going to feed you, right? Or when you get a couple of those, it's going to feed you. But if you're buying the nicest home you could buy and living in it, that's eating you. If you buy a car, yes, that depreciates, is eating you. Anything that you get that you can't get, if you get a really nice watch but you need money and you've got to take a loss, then that thing didn't really that didn't really do anything for you. That's why even though like Rolex, for example, is not the best watch in the world, but it's the number one watch in the world, because if you bought it for 10 grand, you're very likely to be able to sell it for that same 10 grand or not that much of a loss on it versus other things. So I think that's the definition that we all have to look at. If you're living in a home and it's not eating you, so you got a smaller home than what you can afford, it makes it a lot easier for you to do a lot. So when people are like, how come you're doing all this stuff, Hank Strange? How can you spend all this money to have a YouTube channel and buy guns and drive a nice car if you want to drive a nice car? Because I live in a mobile home on 6 acres, which I own outright. Don't have a mortgage. Okay? That mobile home, my taxes are a couple of $100 a year. You know, so that's the thing that I'm trying to say. It's very easy to fall into that trap, like, oh, let me get a nice house, get a nicer house, get a nicer house. So, okay, I'm sorry, David. Lola's saying I cut you off. So.
Oh no, it's okay. McDonald's, if you look at it like, let me say this. I'll say another thing, but McDonald's, if you think about it, they own the land. You pay them to build a building. I'm sure they make profit off of that. You buy your product from them, and then them to use their name. They're making money hand over fist.
Yeah, if you look at the movie that came out on that, it was amazing.
It's just intelligent. And like for me, our home, we have our home, and we got like 2.5 lots of land, so right beside it, a building. So my house actually makes money, and that's where the learning about money, just learn about how to use money and how to use, as far as like your taxes, things of that nature. And if you're gonna make a loan, get a loan that's going to pay you. Like, for example, if you're going to buy land, let's say you buy an acre of land and you want to get a loan. Well, get enough where you can buy some, like storage bins built on it. So now you leave out storage bin and your land's paying for itself. And it brings your value up.
Yeah.
Because if you go to the bank, you can say, well, I own this and everything, 95% of it's leased out. And then, you know what I mean? Then you can be able to go and make more and more moves like that. So if you're going to get a loan for something, make sure it pays you back.
Yeah.
The storage bins is a big one for people because it's cheap it's not real cheap, but it's reasonable to bring them up, and if you can keep them occupied area, like by a military base or something, you're going to keep 95% capacity in them all the time. So they're going to pay for it.
Yeah. And by the way,
profit.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to go back to something that we were saying, I know we all of a sudden turned into financial advisors. We're not. We're not lawyers or doctors. But I've noticed that a lot of real wealthy guys I know pay for everything. Like, they don't buy stuff with credit like that. If they do, they buy something that they know they're going to pay back as soon as that thing comes in. So so in other words, a lot of those guys, for example, they don't, with health insurance, if something comes up, they pay for that. They don't have even the health insurance thing and like, oh, it's going to be this, you have to do the copay. They don't even do that. And if they buy something, they buy like, yes, I could buy this thing straight up. And it's not to say they don't use credit, but they use it for different things than we do.
Well, see, most of the big guys that I've learned that they don't even really buy stuff. Like, okay, for example, if they buy healthcare, you're like, for me, your company buys healthcare and then you write it off. Little things like that. If you're going to make a big purchase, well, that's what investors are for. That's how they look at it. So the investors invest, they buy it with the investors' money. You know what I mean? And they make a profit off of handling the investors' money. And that's the key to like understanding money. And that brings us back, like me and you were talking earlier, I was talking to a guy about Trump versus Biden, and Biden talks about like gonna tax the rich. That's not gonna happen, man. Yeah, just learn that's not gonna happen, because the rich understand how to use money. It's not that they aren't taxed, it's just that they understand how to use money to get past the taxes.
Yeah, they're bulletproof on that. Most of the like wealthiest people, if you look at Bill Gates, there's the Bill Gates Foundation. What people don't realize is that you can, if you're Bill Gates, you can create a foundation where you put all your money into, and then and you pay taxes on it, but it's limited, okay? And protected to how much taxes you're going to pay. There's nothing they can ever do, no law, to make you pay more than that. But meanwhile, you control that. So that foundation owns buildings, employs people. You can get your own people hired there. There's all these things that you have control over. And if someone tries to come at you personally, it's like, oh, well, I don't even own anything. This thing owns everything.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's why if someone wants to understand why the wealthy are protected, it's because of that, and we cannot ever. You cannot ever do anything about that. You will have an easier time taking apart the Constitution than doing that.
And the easiest thing for you to do is learn about it and learn how to use it for yourself. Like you get a guy that, let's say they make, $1 million a year profit. They're going to take that $1 million and they're going to expand the company. So at the end of the year, they actually went in the hole. But truthfully, they made money off of what they expanded into. And they just passed taxes because, hey, I went in the hole this year, even though I bought $1 million worth of property. So just learn to use money for your advantage. And not back to get to the Biden thing, but like I was telling you, Biden said he's going to tax the rich. Well, his idea of rich is anybody that makes over $400,000 a year. That's mom and pop stores, man. That's mom and pop stores right there. That's the guys that have 2 and 3, and they're already ate up with taxes because it's taking everything they can do to keep that mom and pop store going. And really, a lot of them, the majority of them just need to learn how to understand how to take the money and make it work for them and expand. And a lot of people are afraid of someone else coming in and taking part of the profit. That's a big thing. Oh, I don't want to get an investor because I got to pay him. Yeah, but if you got an investor that's willing to give you, $100,000 to expand your business, and 5 years down the road, that $100,000 is done tenfolded. It's worth. Worth with you paying.
And he's carrying some of the weight for you that you don't have to carry. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, no, if you look at pretty much every small, they started small, but every major tech company that we have today, they all started from venture capital. It was like, I got an idea. They went to a bunch of investors. They said, we'll give you millions of dollars to make it work. So we get a percentage of your profits or whatever, and then it's done. But you made millions of dollars or you had cash up front that you never would have gotten, and even a bank would never have taken that risk on you.
Yeah. I think what you're saying about Biden is something that people don't understand, right? If there's a top, bottom, and middle, the dudes on the top is like a real tight space, if you can imagine it, right? It's a real tight space, and those dudes up there are untouchable. If you're in that level of wealth, people can't do anything to you. I'm just telling you guys something. And then if you're in the bottom of that, typically all these things are set up and you're not getting hit for taxes anyway, right? Everyone in the middle of that, the folks who are out there working several jobs, those are the people who are going to carry everything. All the way up to like what you're saying, the guys who are making a couple of $100,000 a year, but they have a business, they have employees, even to the folks out there that have good jobs and they're making $100,000 a year, or in their family they're making more than that. You're going to carry everything. The taxes are going to you. The costs of everything that goes up goes to you. If the person in McDonald's has to get paid more money, when you go to McDonald's, you're going to be the one that's somehow carrying that. Right? Every place you go to buy things, you're going to carry that. If they're just printing up money, when you go buy stuff, you're going to carry that. The people down here, they're getting things. But you have to keep working, or you have to go into the people down here. And the guys up here, they're protected from that. At any point, they could just go, done, not doing anything. I don't have to make it. I don't have to invest in anything or build anything because I'm good. So I think that it's a trap that everyone falls into, that they feel like some magical person, not me, is going to pay for this.
Yeah. And see, the people that make like $100,000 and under, unless you got a big family and a lot of debt, pretty much, you're going to pay in taxes. You know what I mean? The guys, like I said, that own, that make $400,000, the ones that he's trying to call rich and make $400,000 a year, you think about it. The average person's salary is $30,000 a year plus your taxes, your insurance, all that other stuff. The guy that makes $400,000 a year is actually got 2 or 3 employees. That's a really small business. All the way up to the guys that make $2 million a year, because $1 million a year really isn't a big business. It may seem big, but it's not. It's 5, 6 employees. Those are the ones that's already hit hard with taxes, and Biden's going to hit them even harder from what he said.
And most of those, I think you were saying this also before we went on air, I don't know if you were, you know what? But I know that most of those businesses are already in trouble.
Hmm.
You
They're
know,
already in.
they're
I think
already
they
with this
said.
shutdown have a lot of
I think
problems.
with the stat that I heard today was that 60% of businesses that closed during the lockdowns will never come back.
Yeah,
Like that's the statistics that they were saying. I think it was Forbes.
yeah,
So
Yeah,
that's devastating. That's devastating.
it is.
and see, you're talking to people who are below the poverty line, which is most of all of us
Mm-hmm.
are below
Hmm.
the poverty line when you say, "Oh, we're going to tax the rich," and they're like, "Yeah, tax the rich," But if you think about it, that's your boss or that's whoever you're working
Mm-hmm.
for. That's your job.
Mm-hmm.
That's going
Hmm.
to guess
And what's he
happen to
gonna
you.
do? What's he gonna do to make up that extra thing? Somebody's got to go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's better to get the jobs than to get the assistance. It's like give me a job instead of give me a check.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah. So the easiest thing for you to do to combat that, instead of trying to tax the rich, because the rich are, like you said before, they're up here on the top, is to learn about wealth and how
Mm-hmm.
to use it for benefit for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because the law's the same for you as it is for Bill Gates. The laws are the same for everybody. You just
Mm-hmm.
have to learn about it,
Yeah,
learn how to use wealth.
that's so true. That's 100% true. It's just like that thing that we were talking about. That if you like us saying it, the knowledge of that is not power. You know
Yep.
what I
You
mean?
got to act on
Yeah, I could tell you how long ago. This is a crazy story. Years ago, I went to in West Palm Beach. I went to a Trump like this financial thing. Remember Trump used to do financial stuff. Do you guys remember that? He used
Yeah.
to do
Hmm.
seminars, or his name used to be on it. And I
Yeah.
remember going to that, and I spent money on some stuff that was talking about this, right? And so Lola was really mad at me because I went to this thing, and then I came home with this stuff that was talking about all of this, like how you do, all the different buckets that you could put everything in. Let's put it that way. Or that what it's if you want to look it up, or if you know about it, charitable trusts. So that's what you're
it.
saying.
Hmm.
Any of us could do a charitable trust. And this stuff was talking about that, and I spent the money. Guess what, though? It was in a nice box that is still sitting in a nice box, and I never did it. And since then, the thought came into my mind, I've looked into it and I've heard about it. But if you don't ever act on it, that's not power. It's not
Yep.
doing anything to you because it's out there and everyone has access to it. It's a lot like the Second Amendment. So
Hmm.
many people in America don't even know that exists.
Hmm.
They don't know they have the right to defend themselves.
Yep.
They don't know that. They don't understand that. And then they don't use it. And they're like, oh, you didn't tell me about it. Well, it's there. It's easy. You can
Hmm.
Wikipedia it and read the Constitution or the Second Amendment. It's all right there, right? But we just don't like that knowledge itself is not power. We all have to figure out how to apply it. I'm not going to speak for anyone else here. I know that I'm like learning, and I'm a 48-year-old man. And I'm
Yep.
learning and trying to do the right thing and realize, like, okay, this is what I need to do. I need to make this move, go here, reinvest in what I'm doing. That there's these things out here. I need to, spend more time figuring out how that works and applying it. And we all need to do that because this is how we get easily tricked by all politicians into making us think that if we vote for them, it's gonna magically solve something. But we're really just still in the same boat, and maybe that boat is just going around in circles. So, um,
And I started my business right at the end of Obama's deal and
mhm,
coming into Trump. And
mhm,
I'm gonna be honest with you that this is like the most profitable for small business up until the riots. This is the
mhm,
most profitable for small businesses because you got a businessman as your president. No
mhm,
matter how you look towards him, you might not like him or whatever,
mhm,
but start a business. Try to start a business and watch how more
mhm,
profitable it is.
yeah,
Passive income is what you're looking for.
yeah,
Passive income, and don't be afraid to fail. That's the biggest keys of it.
amen.
Just go out there and, man, I sold cups, man. I tried to sell cups. I did everything
Mhm,
to try to create passive income.
mhm,
For example, the energy drinks. Keep your
mhm,
passive, if unless you're in real estate or something like that, keep your passive income low. Energy drinks,
mhm,
$3-4 a pop.
mhm,
Everybody will spend $3-4 a pop. You see what
Hmm.
I mean?
mhm.
And it's something that'll constantly be sold
Yeah,
in
if we're
stores.
all if we're all out there hustling, something's got to keep you awake, right?
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah, something's got to
So
give
you
you
got,
that edge to push over. Yeah, I think so, and I think you're right. I think maybe in the firearms industry we're kind of doing okay right now because we got declared essential, and it's not that on its own wouldn't do anything, but the people out there, not the dyed-in-the-wool gun guys, other people out there said, oh, I'm on my own. And they're out there buying guns and stuff like that, and we're doing okay. But a lot of other businesses are suffering from this shutdown, and we're going to find out that this is totally, totally useless, except to just destroy a lot of businesses, you know? And by go ahead.
Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go.
No, I was just saying, you said, look at the businesses that are destroyed, but look at the ones that are flourished, pharmaceuticals, things like that have flourished. Big business has flourished during this.
Well,
see it like the veil is pulled over them.
it might be late to bring this up, but if people can check it out, maybe you can talk about it tomorrow on your show with somebody else. But I think in Nashville, they just saw that the mayoral office there, basically, obviously, a lot of the bars were shut down in major cities. Well, they were saying that the COVID numbers in bars were actually much lower than almost anywhere else. And so there was documents that came out that the mayor's office knew that. And they're like, we're not going to publish this information, right? Because if people know, then we basically have to let the bars open. I was like, why would they do that? It's because there has to be some sort of malicious intent behind it on some level, that you're not going to allow certain industries to open when it's been proven that they can open without any issues. It's like if a hardware store and a grocery and a supermarket can be open, then like 80% of businesses can be open.
I think,
without a problem.
If you guys don't have a time limit, I mean, I'll try to wrap it up. But I think that if they let those businesses run, most of us would go, what are we doing? Everything else can't be shut down.
That's the whole point. Yeah.
Yeah. This makes no sense. And go ahead.
No, go ahead. I want to hear you.
Yeah, so and the thing I think that's coming out that we could see happening is that there's judges around the country that are starting to say all of this was unconstitutional, because most of these places have no plan to stop. They're never planning on stopping. Whatever power or control that they put into effect, they just plan on keeping recycling.
Well, I think it was the other day too that the Big Ten had some of their representatives on Capitol Hill, basically explaining why is it that the other major college conferences, except for the Pac-12, of course, can open and can start college football, but you guys can't. And they're like, no, there's no way we can guarantee that it's going to be safe. Next day, the Big Ten announces we're going to start our season. So what does that tell people? It was like, well, your information was BS, because literally the day before you went in front of Congress and said some of your medical schools said, oh, well, we can't open safely. There's no way we can guarantee it. Then now the heat is on you on social media and you're like, oh, man, we're going to have to open because we're leaving billions of dollars on the table and we can't get away with this and on this one. Because the students started protesting, the parents started protesting. They're looking at their other athletic departments at other schools saying, like, we're going to play football. And people are like, why the heck can't you do it if they can't? The NFL just played some game. They just had their opening weekend. Why can't you do that?
Yeah.
So now the bubble's being popped and everybody's starting to say, wait a second, something doesn't seem right here. It's like, well, we've been telling you that for months, but at least now you're joining the party.
Yeah. Clint Sanders says, why did the government have the power to shut down private businesses anyhow? They don't. That's the secret. Yeah. They don't. They never had it. But
we allowed them.
It was
they
an illusion.
Can do whatever we allow them to do, essentially. That's what
if
the government
you think about it, the reason, I believe, my opinion again, the reason behind it is too much power was given to the people. The people had too much power because look at all the small businesses that were flourishing. And now look at them, they're all destroyed. And as far as like the NFL, the NBA and all those, look at their sponsors and things that who's actually making the money off of entertainment. Everything that you can buy online or buy at your convenience store that's open. You know, drinks, soft drinks, things of that nature, shoes, anything that you can buy online because you're at home, you're online. So look at the entertainment side of it is not going to shut down because that's where the big business makes their money at.
Yeah.
Now, and here's another question that people can think about. Where are a lot of those products that those big businesses sell to us manufactured? It's not in the United States, that's for sure. So maybe there's also outside influence that is incentivizing our government officials to keep things closed.
I would say for sure, man, because
obviously I'm speaking about China, but
for sure. But if we would have said, hey, we're not allowing anyone to come in and out, we're not allowing these goods to come in and out, then a small business here in America would fill that gap real quick. We're a
Exactly.
breadbasket here. We can get our food here. We can make things here. People want to buy stuff.
How many companies did we see that were like My Pillow, for example? They started making masks. Like they said, we can help. How many companies said when we thought it was going to be bad, we'll start making ventilators? People were ready to jump on it when
but
they
don't really want us to do that. Ultimately,
exactly.
If America stops buying stuff from China, oh man, I mean, America consumes a third of what the whole world produces.
Think about when it all started too.
Mm-hmm.
Think about like about the time when Trump shut China off.
Mm-hmm.
All this shit hitting the fan.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Like, we're bringing everything back to America. Boom.
Yeah.
Next thing you know,
threw a
6
wrench.
months.
It's threw a wrench into the entire machine.
It's
right
insanity, and I know, unless I know this is late, but for example, if you look it up, there's the virologist. I don't know if you guys have seen this. There's a virologist out there from China saying that this was a man-made virus because basically the Chinese military had a bat virus that had no way of crossing over to human beings. They were experimenting on how to get it to cross over to human beings, and it got out. And every time she says that, she gets deplatformed somewhere.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Tread lightly, Hank, because she got booted. She had 60,000 followers. She got booted off of Twitter, and I think Facebook blocked all of Tucker Carlson's interview from it. So I wouldn't be surprised if YouTube starts shadow banning or taking everybody out.
Well, ultimately, I think that's too bad because, I mean, just looking at her, and even she couldn't, actually, I mean, she could speak English.
You could tell she seemed legitimate.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's what we already know. It's what Trump was saying. This is what people already know, that this was something that came from these guys. However it got out, they made this thing and it got out from them, and then this whole thing kicked off, and everyone of the world around is covering up for it because they don't want us to be able to point this direct finger. And this is why you see all these social media doing this. At the end of the day, what they care about is controlling the elections. I think we all get that. But look, the folks out there, I think, know this, right? We're not saying things that they don't know, but it's very important to keep all of this in mind when you're out there. And it's really more important to me, I think, to go out there, vote, do what you need to do, but ultimately don't get stressed out, because no matter who's president, there's things they cannot do to us unless we allow them to do it to us.
Mm-hmm. And there are just things that are beyond our control sometimes too, that you just gotta hunker down, and all I can control is what I've got in front of me. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna focus on that. And everything else, you just got to be prepared.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, you know what? Before we started this conversation, I know, David, you were wondering how we were going to even go, what we're going to talk about.
There you go, more than 2 hours
Now we don't
already.
want to stop.
This is an awesome conversation. I love it.
I hope you would come back again in the future, and we could do this again, man, because I really enjoyed. This is my first time ever talking to you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's been awesome.
It's great.
I'll come back anytime you want, dude. I'll help co-host.
Oh, awesome. Okay. Well, I'll tell Lola to put you on the list for that then. We'll put you on some co-hosting duty. Let's do this before we get out of here. I'm going to start with Rolando. If you could tell the folks who are still hanging out with us right now, Rolando, where can they find you on social media, communicate with you?
Yes. Well, you can find me at Puerto Rican Pistolero on all the major social media platforms at this point. My wife and I do a podcast every week at 7 p.m. Eastern time called the Locked and Loaded Latinos Podcast. You can find us on YouTube. Our podcast is on pretty much all the major platforms. And on Facebook, just search for Locked Loaded Latinos, and you'll find us there too.
Awesome. Please. I encourage everyone to go check out and support Rolando and Joanna. Really cool folks. Let's help them build up here in the community. And David, for the folks who are listening to you out there that they want to follow up with you, get more info about Down the Barrel, what should they do?
Check out downthebarrelofficial.com, Down the Barrel Official on Instagram and Facebook, and down.the.barrel on Instagram. And I appreciate being here, man. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to being on Lock and Load.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Yes,
for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's going to happen. I see everyone saying that you're a great guest. They want to see you come back. So we'll definitely do this again. Stay right there. Don't go anywhere. I'm going to run the end of the show here. I want to thank everyone for joining us. Big thanks to Franklin Armory. Stay right there, David and Rolando. Let me run in the end here. Boom. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, ring the bell, smash the thumbs ups, leave your comments and all that kind of good stuff. We will be back tomorrow. We're going to do a Friday show. And you guys can find, we're going to rip out the audio from this and put it up on iTunes and all the other places that you can get your audio podcasts. And you can get the Latino Locked and Loaded podcast as well on all those places, right, Rolando?
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. So if you're listening to this one, go find that one and listen to it. Okay? And let them know that you discovered them here on this podcast. We appreciate that. Who wants the last word here before I end this?
Got to give it to Dave.
Yep, Dave, you get the last word, man.
I just say thank you for having me on here, and to all the people out there, don't be afraid of failure. Learn about money, read, and get business mind intellectual. Thank you.
Absolutely. Awesome. Great words. Thanks so much for coming on. We will see you guys tomorrow. We're out of here. Peace.